Oops. Howdy and aloha, and welcome everybody to Monotalk. I'm James. You can call me James, Jimbo, Jimmy Ramus, whatever. I don't care as long as you call me. Come by. Anyway, sorry I took a little nap and had to go work out and a little later than I expected. I apologize for that. Eightish means like eightish. So this show is basically people that come on here if they do, which is great. I dig them all. They're freaking awesome. And sometimes they share some good information. And I was just looking around. Evan's got something going on. On topic with Evan, something about Cracked, some gamer company that just laid off a bunch of people. That sucks. Anyway, I just kind of looked it up real quick. So here's the thing. What we discuss is just perspectives, and there are opinions. We may be confiscating or who knows. We talk about all kinds of things, and basically most of it is just picking apart mainstream media and even independent media. I mean, we even go after our own. I mean, like the guy next to us or the girl next to us. We put a check on everything that we do. I'm not saying that everybody here has a lot of grandiose knowledge, but I think it's cool that they all kind of come on and say their part. And their main goal is they just want a better world. I mean, I think a lot of their core value is the same as me, which is save the planet, fix it, do what we can to save this beautiful earth that has been taking care of us for fucking a long time, and it's just getting worse and crazier. I mean, we got fires in California that are nuts. There are hundreds and hundreds of homes and thousands and thousands and thousands of acres that are just burning left and right. And these are some really odd winds that shouldn't be happening about this time. Very odd, very strange, very wrong. So there's some odd weather happening pretty much everywhere. And also, we want to, when you take care of the planet, you want to save all of its inhabitants at the same time. Yes, it is a very broad stroke, but little steps. And if we have the right or the correct or people that actually give a shit, yeah, it's PG-13, by the way, in office that are out there, if you have the right people, our judiciaries, our legislators, our executives, if they all actually really gave a shit about the people they supposedly work for, we wouldn't really need philanthropy. I mean, can you agree with that? Would you need to have homeless shelters if people were properly taken care of? No, excuse me. If you had homeless shelters from people that actually cared, um, then you wouldn't have them in the streets, which they're lining up everywhere. It's growing exponentially. The rate of the homeless and starving children it's just compounding tremendously, and it's getting worse and worse and worse at an exponentially fast rate, and it's just out of control. So is the carbon amount in the air. So is the pollution that's happening. It's not slowing down. It's actually speeding up. So we have to make some serious change and quick. And that brings me to the mana word, term, phrase, whatever. The term I want to use today is the game. And the reason why I'm saying the game, why am I saying the game? Because it is a game. Here's an example. I went into the military when I was 26, 27 years old. Was I 27 or 26? 26. 27. I was 27 actually when I was in boot camp. And immediately I could understand by the expression of these guys' faces that are company commanders and the way everything was handled. It's a game. Play the game. You have to play the game a certain way. Yes, sir. No, sir. Fold your bed correctly. Stow your clothes correctly. Clean correctly. March correctly. Work out correctly. Just have to do things in a uniform, perfect manner. And as long as they know that you're doing your best and you're trying, you're going to make it through that. Started off with 83 people. We finished with 38. It's very common. They'll lose about 2/3 of people that pop positive for drugs, back in the day, some of them were gay, which they told they weren't supposed to tell. Don't ask, don't tell. Clintons, they brought that shit up. You know, but anyway, it's a different place now. But back in the day, it's not too long ago. Back in the early '90s when I was in, um, it was challenging. I couldn't make it to certain levels of jobs and things because I had like this nerve deafness thing, which is uh, very slight, but it was just enough to put a stamp. And I actually was getting the right time in the physical for bud school, but I couldn't make it. I was stamped. So anyway, I became a boatswain's mate on an aircraft carrier, the Carl Vinson, supposedly the one that picked up Osama bin Laden, and I was in dry dock for a freaking long time. But it was a short term. I got out quick. There were some things that were happening, but I served. Okay, and the biggest thing is when you do serve, you got to play the game, even after boot camp. Um, I did get a commendation from E1 to E2 for training a course, but that's a whole nother story. So what I'm really getting into is there's a game out there that's being played, and you're not really in the game. Honestly, you are not really part of the game. You may think you're part of the game, but you're not part of the game. And there are different ways of playing certain games. So let's just say the political game. They know how to play it. People that have been in the business, and it's a business, have been doing it for a long time. When it comes to party games, there was a game that was played against, not with, not a fair game against Bernie Sanders back in 2016, before July, and everybody knows all about that, and all the information's come out, and it's still coming out, and they're still playing this game that Russia had something to do with with the reason why Hillary lost in the general election, which is ridiculously stupid and idiotic. The narrative that they keep pushing is going to come around and slap these people in the face, and it's going to make them look dumb in the way they played the game. So that was a really bad and unfortunate. Oh, hello, Stevie, Redneck Noms. How are you? Okay, she's good. All right, good, good, good. All right, so yeah, that was a very bad game that they played, and a very unfair game. It's like they were playing chess with him. He was on the board. Let's just say uh, they're playing a good game is like the game of life, right? Or let's just say shoots and ladders or whatever, or candy cane. Or you guys all know some of these games. A lot of you played them when you were kids. But they were cheating. They were definitely cheating. They were taking his dice. They were moving it backwards when he wasn't looking. The game that they played wasn't fair at all. All good here on the Russian front. Good for you. So they keep using this Russian. Good for you, Steve. So there was a lot of colluding and some bad gamesmanship, definitely on the Clinton/DNC side. That was really terrible. And there's tons of proof out there to prove it. I mean, you could write it. It could be. I think it'll be a movie one day, if you ask me, on how bad these people cheated, and then they'll have the Seth Rich murder will be into it, and a bunch of other mafia-like chains. But who knows? That's just Alex Jones crap at a certain point, unless it's proven. So the verdict's still out on that. But there's also an internal game with other parties as well. The Republican Party, from my perspective, is a party that pretty much is pretty blatant. They just want to screw everybody over, and if you're not smart enough to understand it, as a 99%, then you're just a fucking moron, period. The new tax plan that's coming out, if you voted for Trump, and then you realize that at the end of the year, not this year, but next year, you're less a few hundred, a few $1,000s for the year, and you can't afford a really nice Christmas, I'm just telling you right now, not this Christmas, next Christmas, next Christmas. You thank yourself for voting for Trump. I want you to thank yourself for voting for Trump. Okay? Which was going to happen anyway, because nobody really wanted Hillary in the first place. I mean, how bad does it have to be You know, and this I forgot the guy's name. It was on CNN, but he got fired. It'll come. Dylan Ratigan. How terrible does a candidate have to be for a piece of shit, fucking dirtbag like Republican bullshit artist, uh, Trump? How bad does that person have to be to lose against Trump? The piece of shit Trump. How bad does that candidate have? Well, she was bad and nobody liked her. It was just bullshit. Anyway, and that game on the Republican side was bad too because it was totally and absolutely rigged on that side because and the DNC even helped that side as according to the Podesta files, which is WikiLeaks has never been redacted. They've never been, uh, had to apologize for any of the information that they've ever brought out. They never had to cancel, retract anything. So, excuse me, not redacted, retract anything because they've always been spot on with their information. WikiLeaks, people that are leaking, whistleblowers, people that are like, this isn't right. I need to put a thumb drive in here, take this information and give it to somebody so they can publish it. Boom, WikiLeaks. This is what happened. What's interesting is when WikiLeaks and Assange published all this bullshit, published that it was bullshit, that Iraq really didn't have weapons of mass destruction and started a bunch of hearings and the Democrats got crazy on it and went after the Republicans. He was a hero. He was a hero. And now he's the criminal and they want him strung up because he's seeing the corruption and the disgusting behavior of the Democratic National Committee and the party itself, guided by, I believe, and backed and guided and controlled by the Clinton Foundation and the Clintons. Just terrible. They've turned into just a heinous group of people. And I want to be here. I like my work. I like my family. I'm telling you right now, if there's just some mysterious thing where I'm disappeared, I'm telling you right now, come and do some serious investigating. I'm just saying right now. Jimmy Dore, you need to wear a bulletproof vest, by the way. So within these parties, there's some serious. Hey, Rebel Cage. Hey, is Eben? I think he's still doing his show. Is he all right over there? I didn't know what the show. I was kind of mixed. I didn't know to come on or not come on or. Okay, but anyway, I just don't want to ruffle any feathers. And Steve, hey, hi, Rebel Cage. Yeah, so he's still doing something. I hope he's okay. Let him know I'm moving. Doesn't matter. I have to spiel about this anyway. This is important stuff. And whoever will come on can come on soon. Speaking of come on soon. We have like 65-mile-an-hour winds out here, and then in some areas of California, like in the high deserts and in the mid deserts, just outside of like the main areas of serious population. Well, actually, it would be serious populations compared to places like West Virginia. Hey, Tech. Hey, buddy. Yeah, we've had these high winds. We've had winds up to over 90 miles an hour. I mean, I'm actually feeling this thing just going shake every once in a while. Anyway, so it is a game. There's a game I played in the military so I can get through the military, and I used to tell kids that would come in. I call them kids because I was the old guy, but I stayed up with these fuckers, man. I beat a lot of those fucks, a lot of shit. I think it's just my training, and I was in football, blah 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 blah. But which was pretty awesome. Anyway, so I would tell them, just play the game. Just do the yes or no, sir. Just fold your clothes. Just get through it. You're going to be fine. And there was a few guys that actually listened, and some of them just didn't really give a fuck. And I remember this one guy, Tom Johnson, super cool, super tall. The birthing was 6'6", and he was 6'6", so he barely fit. He just kind of did not fit inside his birthing or his rack. It was so bad. Just looking at him, I used to go, dude, how are you doing this? I mean, it was terrible for the kid. I just hated it. I felt so bad for him. Anyway, and it was a game, and it's been a game. It's been a really heinous and terrible, just evil, and evil is all about perspective, but an unfair game in the DNC, and it's still moving that direction, and nobody's doing anything to fix it because they're promising all kinds of shit, and nothing's fucking happening. The Republicans are still the same. They've got their same game going on, where they just stab you right in the chest, right in front of you, and the Democrats just will dangle a nice uh, chocolate bar in front of you and then reach around and stab you in the back. That's the way I feel about the Democrats. Is they're the reach around people. Okay, yeah. So and then you have another party, and there is actually another viable party out there. And believe it or not, um, if you've noticed, they haven't been very prominent. They haven't been out there. They haven't been marketing themselves well. They haven't been putting themselves in the right positions in the right places, and they just haven't done the right things, in my professional opinion, to gather attention. Branding, stamping. They used to have, I think, 4 press releases a month. Now they have like 4 a year. They used to have people in the Green Party that used to do some very, and they were exponential. They were there. They were always expedient about getting the word out and being in the right places. I just want to let you know, there are sources that I speak with on occasion that will say it needs an overhaul. There is a game within the Green Party that needs to be fixed. I can just say, I'm not going to get into further detail, but what I am going to say is that if they don't learn the game and how to change the game, here's an example. Chess used to be played on a board. Chess, not checkers, chess. A flat board, you're just playing, your pieces, blah, blah, blah. And then they came out with virtual or 3D. You've seen it on Star Trek, where they have different levels. I think it was 2 or 3 levels, 3 levels of the game that were played. It was kind of harder, but you could still kind of understand what was going on. I played it before. Spock used to play it. Um, and then they brought it out online where you could play it online in a different way. And they changed the game, not completely. The foundation of the game is still the same, but they changed it so people would appeal to it. They changed it to make it funner. They even advertised and they created a movie, Searching for Bobby Fischer. Was it Looking for Bobby Fischer? Yeah, Searching for Bobby Fischer. If you guys haven't seen that movie, it's an epic movie. I totally enjoy it. Love that movie. But they were actually getting a lot of people that were really interested, and they still have schools to this day for chess. And it's important to know that games can be fun, and they can be changed, and they can be moved, and they can be altered to bring more people in. So my point here is, in regards to the Green Party, you guys really need to catch up. You need to streamline and do the things that you need to do with the delegations, with the memberships, bringing people that are honestly and willing and have proof beyond proof to provide uh, phenomenal and amazing uh, processes and programs and systems that can help, you know, uh, build and make the party evolve. But from what I'm hearing is they have some very old, not old people, just some old practices that need to be updated. And some, that it's almost like they were following other parties, but they shouldn't be like that. They should be quicker, faster, stronger, in a different way. You know, we have technology. We can do things quicker and better. Anyway, I'm just saying, I always praise the Green Party as the party being the party that should come out and take advantage of all the crap that these other 2 parties are spewing and tripping over their own feet. But even in the Green Party, they have some cogs that aren't turning properly, and they have a lot of internal workings that need to be re-looked at, and just try to make it easier for people to come on and be a part of the group. or be a part of the delegation or be a part of the membership. Being a registered green is not all that the greens want to be. They want to be involved. They like the platform. They like their 10 commandments. They like everything that you propose, mostly everything. And they want to be a part of it, but if you can't let people in to do the right things, then it's not going to help you, and it's not going to help you. So what I'm actually talking about, I'm actually still waiting to be a media committee member, and I really think that I myself and many others that I know that are green that could really help them. And there's some internal workings that really need some serious help, and I hope that they can get this thing moving a little faster. It's not done yet. There's a longer process, but things that I'm hearing, was kind of startled. I'm very startled actually as to what is the internal workings, and it seems like they definitely need some high performance parts. When you're building an engine in this day and age, you've got to have a turbo, you've got to have nitrous, you've got to have the right people working on in your crew. This machine has to be well oiled and well taken care of, and you've got to run it quick if you want to stay in the race. And if you want to play the game, you've got to have personnel that can create, a Formula One or at least an IRL kart, Lola chassis, 800 horsepower V6 Honda turbo that can do 240 miles an hour. Just saying. All right, so thank you all for coming. Again, this is James from Montauk. I'm going to go grab the link to come on. Hopefully I look okay and I sound okay. I am hoping, because it's not always the case. Sometimes I mess up on the graphics and all that stuff. So I'm going to post this in here. Yeah, come on, Green Party. Let's do this. You guys can't keep tripping. You guys, I don't know how to say this. Get moving. Just whatever you need to do to streamline shit. You don't have time to fucking dick around with the current processes. Get going. Because we need a third party. Everybody agrees that's got to be one of the best. Either that or pitchforks and fucking tiki torches. I don't think anybody really wants to do that. Anyway, here it comes. I'm going into the host, putting it in here. There it is. And then I'm going to put it. Actually, I'm going to put it on my. I got some people on Facebook that I think may come on. Maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, it's in the host there. I'm going to put it inside of the live chat so people can come on. Bada bing, bada boom. And then I'm going to put this here. Hey, Tech, why does it say on my YouTube, it says youtube.com/C/James Consultant? I don't get it. And then I guess that goes straight to my YouTube, but am I a consult? I guess I'm a consultant. That's fine. Consultants get paid a lot of money. I'm okay with that. And we're going to talk about money tonight. As a matter of fact, there's a guy amazing man. He's an Ayn Rand fan, Republican. Oh, well, video input low. What the hell is going on? What the hell just happened? I'm getting a red line. God damn it, machine. Fuck me. Okay. Oh, hello. Howard Kramer. Welcome, Howard. How are you? Hello. Eben Kim. What's going on? Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Let's get a check on Howard. Howard, are you there? Over. Do you copy?
Oh, I can never have clean shirts anymore. I'm sorry. Howard, if you see something, say something.
Hey, Snark. My streaming is oh now we're good. But anyway, I got to go to my Facebook and post this. Wow, Jesus Christ.
I'm telling you, when you have babies, man, you never get a clean shirt.
Yeah, I know. And puke is fun, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I got the baby Roland. He threw up on me twice this morning. I changed my shirt, got
Oh
a new
man.
one. He went all over it again on my foot too.
Hey, whoever 770 is, please try to fix your. I'll just fix your phone number unless you want it on. See, that's the thing. When I bring people in and they're in the waiting room, I see the phone number,
Yeah.
so I'm concerned if I post it. Just letting you know, everybody's going to see your phone number if that's what you want.
Well, would be nice if in the waiting room you can do like a separate chat, like
Yes.
do a chat.
Yeah.
You could change their names if you know.
Let me
So
see if I
before they
can.
come on.
Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can. There's not. You can't. You just see the name and that's it.
Yeah, you can't.
So I have no idea who 770 is and what's going on. Howard Kramer, are you there? Howard. Did you guys hear my monologue?
I missed it. I didn't know you started, so I
Oh,
missed 14 minutes of it before I looked over.
all
I
right.
did catch the last few minutes.
All right. So I'm bringing 770 on by just letting you know your phone number is now public information. Okay. Just letting you know. Oops, crap. Hold
Um,
on.
Norfolk. Huh?
Elios. Elios is here. Oh my God. What's up, bro?
Hi.
What up? Where have you? Did you go to
Tired.
Mars? What galaxy were you in? Because you haven't been around here.
See of Maxwell's equations.
Oh, all right.
Oh, Snork, get me out of here now. Please.
What is?
I'm about to lose my mind.
You do realize that
mean?
engineers take a simplified version of it. So when we know, it's just to let us know that when we get in trouble, we go to physicists. And we make sure that for the rest of their lives, they do E&M questions 75 times a day.
Oh, I'm stuck. Yeah, I've been just doing all my homework problems the entire week. I'm
All right.
currently.
I put in there a human. So who knows? Lucas too. Holy shit! All the smart people. Now see everybody that keeps coming in here. My IQ just keeps dropping. My IQ just goes lower and
Hey,
lower and lower. I'm like, Lucas, what's up?
the A human was me, Howard Kramer. I dialed my phone for some reason. I can't get my computer to pick me up, so I've got you on my screen and on telephone.
Okay, we hear you just fine. So that's
Okay.
good.
Thank you for being here, Howard. Good seeing you, buddy.
You could hide Howard Kramer where it's empty and just rename his a human to Howard Kramer.
I'll do it for you, Howard.
Yeah, if you could help, that'd be great because
Yeah,
I'm
no
technically backwards.
Okay.
And I actually have no idea if there's a charge for the phone call.
It's how much? Don't say no. What is it? Like $1 a minute?
I thought it was
Laugh
$5
now,
a
buddy,
minute.
but I'll be rich soon. Just keep staying on, man. Just keep staying on. For all you, please, just keep staying on.
I was wondering where I kept getting all these unsolicited charges from.
Yeah, I'm planning a trip to Tahiti just because. Anyway.
Okay.
Alios, what was going on with Alios Snark? He has a test or something, or
Yeah. Finals.
oh shit, yeah.
The big F. And if I pass this one, I get to graduate in the spring, provided I don't fuck up my internship next semester.
That is good news so far. How you
But
feeling? How you feeling about it?
my first exam, and I only got a 70 on my second one. So this is basically do or die time for me.
You sound like you're not too concerned about it. Seems like you feel a little confident. Do you feel like you got this?
Like, no, no,
No, man. I'm going
Like-
crazy.
no. The thing is like part of me, like there's a part of me that is just fine with just being able to pass the class. But I also know that if I don't put in this effort, there's a good chance that I might not even be able to pull C. So I don't want to leave that up to chance. So it's just there's a lot of pressure on me to not fuck this up.
So should you be studying instead of being here?
I also need.
Yes, I should be.
You too.
But I also need. I also need.
I'm a bad influence. Jesus.
No, actually, I've been needing a de-stress point because I've basically been up all day.
Okay, so you need a little venting. You need to do a little venting. That's okay. This is the best place for
I
it.
got a little bit of venting about our good friend Sham Cedar just a few minutes ago. Missed it. It was a good rant.
What did this fucking asswipe do?
Oh,
Got
he
fired.
got MSNBC.
Oh, he did? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was some going down about that. I read that. That's correct. But I didn't know to the extent. It was kind of
Never go full establishment, because once you stare into the eyes of the beast, they stare back into you.
and they withdraw your soul, right? Just give me your soul.
It kind of reminds me of the analogy from Animal House about the horses.
About the horse or the horses?
Yeah, the horses, the loyal beast of the farm, and when they reach the end of their life, well, they get to go to a nice, pleasant retirement home at the fucking glue factory.
Oh yeah, and they turn into hamburgers.
Actually, their feet get turned to gelatin. I don't know what they do with the rest of the meat.
Yeah, tacos. They turn into tacos, I think.
It's
Maybe.
supposed to be based on Russia, and so I doubt Russians make horse tacos.
You don't have to go that far.
Really? Oh, we had some incidences here in
Jesus
just
Christ.
across the street, around the corner. Later on, oh, by the way, you guys have been eating a cat. Some restaurants, I'm not going to say when, but there's been a few times where people have kind of snuck, a little this, a little of that,
Well,
to save on inventory.
Well, I remember a few years ago they tested Taco Bell's meat and they found that it was only like 33% beef, and then they didn't test for what the rest of it was. But they said that they tested for beef and they found that 33% of the meat in the Taco Bell tacos was actually beef.
Holy Jesus.
We had an international incident with the French a few years back. DeKalb, Illinois used to be the main source of horse meat for very fancy restaurants. There's a French dish that uses horse meat. And their last supplier last good supplier was DeKalb, Illinois. When that horse slaughter factory shut down, France was mad because it was shut down due to activism here in the United States.
And they really liked that food. That was like their special treat.
Yes. It was a very, very high end horse meat.
Well, so I'm sure it was probably
Like
all the dumb
Clydesdale?
vegans and vegetarians. The vegans and vegetarians were like, "Oh, we're not supposed to eat horses," blah 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 blah. And it's like humans can eat like almost any meat, like and get the nutrients from it, because that's what humans evolved eating anything they could catch. Really, I mean, as long as we could cook it right and make it taste okay. Like I wouldn't eat a muskrat, but like there's a lot of wild animals that people don't eat anymore that up until 100 years ago everyone used to eat all the time.
Mhm.
Also, if you want to eat pufferfish, don't poke the gills.
Ah, not that I really
Sorry
had
about
any
I
inkling.
thought I had figured it out, and I figured I'd try to get in by the computer, but it didn't work.
What do you think's going on, Evan? Is it you have just a regular PC? Is it a tower? Just Howard?
Yeah,
Okay,
Do you have?
go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a very old laptop that it's not exactly the most up to date equipment.
Does it have its own webcam?
It does.
Well, on the Zoom, you'll see on your bottom left there's a mute microphone, and it says mute, and then there's a stop or start video right next to it. There's an up arrow.
I see a little join audio button.
Yeah, you can go
Oh
and
yeah.
click on that. It'll also try to join your video. So on your bottom left of your Zoom, you'll see mute and then stop video or start video.
I see nothing involving mute.
Or it may not. It has a microphone icon and also a video camera icon on the bottom left.
Yeah, I promise you I'm not seeing that. Don't worry about it. I'm good on the phone.
All right.
All right, so you guys heard what I was talking about, right? I'll just reiterate it real quick. So it's open forum anyway, but I was talking in my monologue that, there's games that they play inside of each party, but there's actually a game being played in the Green Party that we all kind of knew was happening, but it actually is truly happening. There's some dysfunctionality, like there is in any party, but in a serious, very serious and troubling way within the Green Party. And I'm hearing this from people that are in the party. I'm hearing this from people outside of the party. I'm hearing this from people that were in the party. So there's a lot of things that this party, in order for it to hopefully, catch any kind of attention from the two-party oligarchy, which I call them, hopefully they can get their shit together. But it's work in progress, and they got people that have came in from the Bernie people that are experienced, that have been out there, that have been doing the right things, that know how to fundraise, because the party's so fucking poor, and it's just there's this long drawn out process, and there are people in the way. There are actual human beings in the way from getting this place fixed. And I don't know if you guys know this part. This is interesting. There were a few articles just to verify from what I heard, is that when Ralph Nader left, he took part of his fan base, let's just say it's called their fan base, donors, kind of with him, and people that kind of helped him, financially, and a lot of other things that kind of helped. So when he left, he took everything with him. It's like you have a business partnership with somebody, and they own half of the donut shop, and then when they leave, they take half of the bakery, they take half of the refrigerator to keep the milk, and they take half of the dough. This is kind of what Ralph Nader did. He kind of left them in a really bad place, and they scrambled for some time, and they still, I believe, have been. Anyway, so that's what's going on. So hopefully there are people out there that can do the right things to bring this party back to, or not back, but way above what it could be. That's kind of one of my goals. But anyway, did you guys ever hear about any of this? That the Green Party, it's like nobody really gives a shit anyway. It seems like, it's just a fucking Green Party, Jim. No big deal. They're just going to be like that no matter what.
Well, do you think that Ralph Nader would ever come back to the Green Party if he supported the candidate, or that he would run for some kind of office again, or support endorse candidates?
I've never heard anything of that. That would be a great idea. What if he tried to go for at least a Senate position? Excuse me. A House position on the Hill.
I know that he has an annual Constitution Day party at his mansion with a lot of people, and I actually met someone who's friends with him whenever I went to the State of American Democracy conference a few weeks ago at Oberlin. one of the guys there actually goes out to Ralph Nader's mansion every year for Constitution Day,
Wow.
and like parties with Ralph Nader, and like and like he's one of his drinking buddies, and they go out there and they have a good time for like that weekend, and do a lot of talking. And it's like, it just makes me wonder, like, why, like, I wonder what he's doing currently. I know he has his radio show and his podcast, like the Ralph Nader Radio Hour, but I really think that like it would be great if he came back into the political sphere, because now that we have Bernie like waking up the younger generations, there's a lot more people that will be appreciative of what Ralph Nader has done for us, because Ralph Nader is one of the best people like in American history, like one of the best politicians, leaders, just like all around one of the best people. And I think that if he came back into the political sphere, that would be really great. The only problem that I see is that Bernie didn't endorse Ralph Nader when he ran in the 90s, and they are not friends. Like Ralph Nader hasn't spoken to Bernie since then, because Bernie endorsed Clinton over Nader. And that was like the first time Bernie, was he took the side of the two parties over the side of the independents and the third parties. And so that makes me wonder and worry, like if Bernie is the reason that Ralph Nader won't come back into, political life too.
There's some friction there. Is that, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? This is what I find very interesting is you have I call them the Republican Party. I'm only talking about the leaders and the people that are in offices. I'm not talking about maybe part of the Tea Party, but anyway, and some people in the Democratic Party. A lot of these people, the internal workings, there's some drama, there's some soap opera shit going on, but a lot of them don't have both of the big parties out there. They're kind of ran and led by, hey Stevie, they're kind of ran and led by not themselves, but the 1%, the lobbyists, the super PACs, all the people that are actually controlling them, their masters, of course. So they don't have time to fuck around. They're just told what to do and they do it anyway. But we just don't have time for that. The Green Party doesn't have time for any drama. They don't have time for any soap operas. They don't have time for any crap. They just need to get their shit together and start moving forward. So if Ralph Nader wanted to come back and run, they should just go, come on back, But I'm afraid there's egos and stuff like that happening already in the party, possibly. That's just my fear, is they wouldn't understand. And I think they don't understand the significance of having a third party to at least make these two parties somewhat intimidated. I don't think they understand that yet, and they need to.
I also think that the Green Party needs to work on targeting its messaging, like especially when it comes to local races and like House and Senate races. Like they need to run on issues that are important in their state. Like Doug Jones right now, the Democrat, he's going to lose to Roy Moore because he's running in a predominantly Christian state. Even the minorities are predominantly Christian in Alabama, and he's running on being pro-choice. Like, how dumb is that? Like, how dumb are you to be a Democrat and run on being pro-choice? All he has to do is say that he will work to get the toxic waste out of the minority neighborhoods, and he would win down there, or say that he wants to, stop the Republican tax plan. Like, if he were to hammer policies and stuff like that, that would actually affect the Alabamans' lives in positive ways, he'd win. But instead, Democrats gave money to a guy who's running on being pro-choice in a Christian state. That's just so dumb. Like what they need, and so like the Democrats, like if the Justice Democrats want to win, or if the third party candidates like Labor Party, Socialist Alternative, Dem Socias, or Green Party, Labor, whatever district they run in, they have to run on issues that are specifically important in their district. Like the transgender woman who beat out the homophobic guy. He was running on keeping transgenders out of the bathrooms, and she was running on traffic issues. And guess what? She won running on traffic issues, because that affects people's everyday lives. Right. People want there to be no more traffic. People want to have, a better experience in life. People don't care about bathrooms. That's a non-issue. And if you don't give anyone anything to vote for, all the people who don't care about that aren't going to go vote, and the few people who do are. And so that's why you get someone like that. And
Yep.
so what we need to do is we need to make sure that people are giving people something to vote for. That way voter turnout increases and we get good politicians.
So non-issues will definitely. Is he still there? Who left? Somebody left.
James Snork had to reboot. He's in the green room, waiting room.
Oh shit! Sorry. Okay, so sorry, Snark. I knew you were there, but anyway, yeah. So Lucas, this is what happens to the Green parties. They come in, they just talk about themselves, talk about their issues, but they don't try to slip into what's important for that area. Just like what you're saying, I see Dems do it all the time. The Republicans stay with what their caucus and their base wants. They always do that. They understand that. They understand the game, and that's what we're talking about, the game, and they know how to play the game. Don't just because the Republicans, some of them believe in the flat Earth, doesn't mean these guys don't know how to play this political game, because they fucking do. They've been playing it well for a long time.
It never pays to underestimate the intelligence of your opponents just based on their ignorance on a few trivial subjects.
Oh yeah.
Well, and a lot of that stuff they're pretending to be stupid on so that they identify with their base too. Like Ted Cruz knows better than what he's doing. He's not that stupid that he believes all the phony stuff he cites in those debates, but he does it because he knows that his base isn't going to research it at all.
All of them do. All of them. Do you truly believe, and this is a good question for everybody, do you guys truly believe that 60% of the Republican judiciaries, legislators, and executives out there do not believe at all that climate change, or humans aren't putting a footprint on the earth?
I can believe that,
Yeah.
but only in the sense that I have Republican uncles who don't believe it, who have high.
No, I'm talking about people that have heard the evidence.
Here's the thing. Regardless of whether or not they believe it or not, it's at this point kind of irrelevant, because functionally, whether or not they believe that it's true or not, it doesn't change the fact that they are being funded by an industry that is specifically set up for that, investing in them to not believe in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like whether or not they believe it or whether or not, they're being legitimate in their ignorance is kind of irrelevant. I mean, they're just being really just ignorant at this point. I mean, and these aren't people that we should vote for that are just I mean, I can understand like the average, working, struggling man that doesn't have time to, understand all this. This is their job, is to understand this and to protect us from things like this. So, even if they're just, like legitimately ignorant, you still can't vote for them. They're still, I mean, like either way, I can't sit here and nitpick all day. It's just like, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't want to know what they're talking about. We can't even vote for them. Like, dismissed, irrelevant.
No, I understand that. No, and nobody wants to talk. Okay, like Elios is saying, it's real simple. They're shown like here's a big thing of crude oil. I'm gonna smush it on your face, okay? Right, black everywhere, it stinks, just burning your eyes. But then here's $1 billion. Here's $1 billion. What I want you to do is just pretend like all that crude oil is not all over your face and your eyes aren't burning. Okay, so these guys probably do know that some shit's going down, and they've probably seen a lot of evidence to indicate that, but they're paid, they're pushed, they're maneuvered, they're whored out to not believe the truth.
If you want to have a better academic understanding about this, there's a guy that a fellow by the name of Libertarian Socialist Rants introduced me to, whose work he had introduced me to. And have any of you heard of a man named Thomas Ferguson?
Yep.
Well, Thomas Ferguson came up with a theory about political investment. And I think there are some government classes that teach this theory, although most of them don't really go into the significant details. But the important part about it is that generally speaking, you can tell what the kind of policies that your government is going to support based on what the economic interests investing into it are. Functionally speaking, the people within the American and in the United Kingdom do not really represent the public. They are mostly there to represent the economic interests of the elite. Now, who those elites are determine what the brunt of that focus towards policy is going to be. Are they globalist or nationalist? Are they capital intensive or labor intensive? And you can quadrant these kinds of characteristics, and depending on what kind of where they get their funding from, that's who's going to have the dominant economic power in society. So Barack Obama, for example, represents sort of a global capital-intensive industry. So naturally, his policies tend to benefit those who don't invest a significant amount into the labor force. But he also has a lot of international outreach. So so his policies are dictated by those who would benefit the most by free trade agreements. And then you have George Bush, who's I would probably say that he's more along the sort of on the centrist line between globalists and nationalists. Actually, he's pretty much a centrist in pretty much all regards. He basically is George Bush was basically the funnel for all businesses. You have labor, you have capital. You want me to help you get your way through? I'm your man. Tax cuts for everyone. And well, we all know how that ended. So I thought that might be an interesting note to add.
That is a very interesting note to add. But bottom line, it comes down to money, power, influence.
I mean, just to put it in perspective, you have men that are willing to sacrifice their health, their years off their lives, even so as much as to die like a really young death for $30 an hour. These assholes are making millions of dollars a year. You think about the amount of ignorance that can buy. I mean, if $30 can get you, $30 an hour can get you to sacrifice your life and your well-being, imagine what $1 million a year, 5 million, 20 million, $1 billion, if you're in like the Clinton League, like that's a whole lot of stupidity you can buy with that kind of money.
I like that phrase. What was it? Jimmy Dore who said that the only thing that anybody in this world can wish more for is the day when they can make $30,000 a day and become the world's most insufferable asshole.
Yeah, I've been talking to people lately since Matt Lauer got fired. Like I was talking to people about him, and like people will be like, "Oh, Matt Lauer got fired," and it's like, did you watch the Today Show? It's like he was an insufferable asshole the entire time he was on there. His interviews are terrible. The way he talked and like his mannerisms were all terrible. And then you find out why he got fired, and oh my god, he was just an all-around piece of shit human being. And even if you ignore the sexual harassment, even if you ignore the way he interviewed people, even if you ignore the shitty way he like spoke about things and just his awful personality, the fact that he made $50,000 a day and had it in his contract that he had to be flown in by helicopter 3 days a week, that's enough people. They could have used that to employ hundreds of real journalists and real reporters around the world to do actual journalism. I mean, $50,000 in 1 day, that's enough to pay another person for an entire year. They could have had 365 journalists for that price. And then for the price of those helicopter rides, bringing him to work, 3 days a week, every week of the year, they could have, put some of those journalists overseas into actual like war zones, getting real reporting done. But nope, they chose to hire one. They chose to keep one celebrity on board, and that was that.
Wow.
No, Katie
so
Curry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So Matt Lauer is pretty much. Here's how I see Matt Lauer. He's pretty much a Lily Ivory Tower quote unquote reporter of fake news and propaganda.
He's just a piece of shit now. That's
Yeah.
according to Katie Curry. I saw an interview when she was leaving. She's the Asian kind of tall girl that left Good Morning America or something back in 2003
Remember her
or something. Who? Yeah, she was just pretty, gorgeous, smart, the whole 9 yards. Found out that she was a part of this. He was harassing her. He had a button in his office where he would lock the door to keep you inside of his office. This is actually really is
Okay, that
is
goes
true.
beyond harassment.
That's
That's
just sick
He's not
talk.
the only one. No, but let me tell you, he's not the only one with that button, though. Think about how many rich people would have that in their offices. Like, I am sure Bill O'Reilly had one of those in his office.
Oh,
I
yeah.
am-
What, the button that closes the door? Jesus, titty fucking Christ. When
Yeah,
I found out about that, I was like, damn, that's some creepy shit right there.
Yeah, just.
I am sure that the presidents have had that, button in the Oval Office for
Well, I
years.
think they have it for a reason, but
Like, I am sure that anyone with enough money has that. I'm sure that Harvey Weinstein had that button in his office, but it's just that certain people use that button to close the door.
I know
People
it just fucking look at that. Rebel's just like just oh my god. Can you imagine Bill Clinton going, "You're not going anywhere, Monica."
It's like,
Whoa.
No,
You hear
it would
that?
be
You're not going anywhere, Monica. Click.
no. It would have been. We're not going anywhere, Monica.
Oh yeah, just like
Lucas.
sick fuckers out there, man.
Why can't people just take a page from Jordan Sheridan and then just drug the girl?
Just get her drunk.
Boy.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I saw looked at Winkle the Bernie Bros channel. He did a defense of Jordan Sheridan. That like if you look at the other people's accounts that were there, there's 4 people there, not just the one girl who's accusing him of that.
Yeah,
there's 4 sides to that.
And nobody gets anybody drunk.
You
drink.
I want to see the money. Like, I want to see the books.
2 beers.
The TYT books and the Truth Against the Machine books.
Me too.
I got a
All
good
the money.
Go ahead, Alias.
No. I was just gonna say I got a good kick out of watching Nico House's takedown of Jordan Sheridan.
Oh yeah, that was brutal. I watched that.
Oh, Nico House had every fucking right. Jordan Sheridan doxed him.
Well, yeah, Jordan was a dick to him and Tim Black and everyone for a while. Like, that was not cool.
Well, no, but now we know why. Now we know why. He was fucking covering up.
James, did you see Yvonne's message?
And it's kind of fun.
Is it in the live chat?
It's on the YouTube part of the chat.
That's the live chat. Yeah. Let me look.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention. What is
I'm
it?
sorry I interrupted, but he's
not streaming live chat. I mean, stupid fingers.
I have to admit,
I don't know
though.
what that means. Also, go through a lot of words. No,
I had a train of thought there for a second. Hold on.
I'm sorry.
No, it's
No.
working.
It's not your fault.
Everything seems to be working. Yes.
I've only had 3 hours of sleep today. Like, honestly, it's if it
Well,
wasn't.
no, James, he's saying that on the YouTube video, you're not streaming like the chat anymore. Like, it's just showing the Zoom contacts, and then it's not showing the YouTube chat on the YouTube video.
Well, I'm looking at the YouTube video, and I've refreshed it.
Yeah, refresh it, Yvonne, because I'm watching it move.
Yeah, it's moving. I just refreshed it. I'm good.
Oh wait, now I remember what I was going to say. Um,
And I'm looking at my YouTube. Oh, it's working.
Write it down real quick.
It's not working for mine.
Oh,
I don't
I
know.
did-
I see it.
Are you sure? Well, the
Oh.
super chat is working, but on the video of YouTube,
Are
like
you looking
inside.
at it? Because
Oh, it's not there.
Yeah.
how come it's there on mine? I'm refreshing again. Let me
Oh
see.
no.
Let me do some actions
Weird.
and see if that comes up in a second. Because I'm
I would
thinking
say look on the OBS.
And how come
no, it's
I'm
working.
seeing,
I'm working live, man. I'm telling you right now.
I'm seeing it go.
Oh, the video. Oh, we see each other, but we see the under the open forum. There's no like live chat. People on the chat.
Oh, the
Yeah, it's not-
chat itself is not moving? No, the chat's
Yes,
fine.
it's not.
I see mine moving.
Well,
Yeah,
no.
that-
Was he talking
Right,
about the
well-
restream? Oh, maybe it's the restream.
Yeah, like where it says topic of discussion, open forum, right below that, normally the super chats also are showing in the video, like a couple seconds later.
That's because I have.
And it's not-
Oh, sorry. I know what. I got it. I just figured it
Yeah,
out.
that's
It only
that's
took me like
perfect.
20 minutes. I'm good. We're good.
Good.
when somebody comes on, it shows the person in the chat part or who the people are. So I got to close it and reopen and close it. So I'm getting used to that. So it should be fine now. Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay.
My bad.
If I could continue on the train of thought I was on, one of the things that I thought was interesting about this whole about what happened with the Sheridan case, though, was this sort of coming together. I noticed between people who I would honestly say before I had not been on good terms with, particularly noting that some of the people who are now tweeting about this story were some of the people involved in Gamergate, and people who've paid attention to our chat logs know I do not have a very fond opinion of that particular movement. Although there are some members of the movement who I do still appreciate time with. You know who you are. You know who you are. But one of the things I thought was really interesting about this was that was this sort of unification about the idea of what it means to blame victim blaming, and defending victimization of other people, particularly the victims. At the expense of allowing due process to be carried forward. Now, as many have said, there's no proof yet that Jordan Cheriton had for certain had sexually assaulted Carly Hammond or any of the other women who have come forth detailing their stories of sexual harassment or possible assault. I would say, however, that Jordan Cheriton's behavior has been emblematic of the kind of behavior that people who engage in abusive relationships with other people typically exhibit. The gaslighting, the intention to publicly discredit their testimony before their adversaries or victims can be able to speak forward. This is things that I had noticed within Gamergate for a long time, and not all members of Gamergate were involved in this, but there was a significant chunk that I had seen behave like this, and who were defending this kind of behavior. And now to see that the tables have finally turned, I don't know. Part of me feels like like maybe there's a chance that we could finally get around to getting ourselves back on the right page. That's just me.
How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Hey man, we're getting there. We're getting on the right page. I feel like I'm kind of in the first or second level of the rabbit hole right now. You just have to give yourself time to process the information, and realize why people are doing what they're doing. And by the way, I think we all know that the government is not moral. John Conyers is retiring not because of his his behavior. It's because he is the sponsor of HR 676, and people use the information against him. HR 676 is the Medicare for All bill. He is the sponsor of that, and then all of a sudden he disappears. I'm not saying he shouldn't retire or be censured or be disciplined, but I'm saying that that's why he's gone. The reason that Franken was called out is because of the net neutrality bill. Look at the timing of it.
That's why I figured. Whenever I saw all these come up against them, because like the Franken thing, if you learned about the allegations of the Franken thing, that's complete total bullshit compared to all the other sexual harassment scandals going on right now.
No. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't really, in my opinion,
in comparison,
you shouldn't compare. It's like is what he did was right. Is there a rule? Is there a reasonable rule? Did he break that rule? In my opinion, yeah, he did break that rule.
Well, what's he accused
he broke
of?
It. He should go.
The thing he's been accused of is his hand brushing against a woman's butt as he's taking a picture.
Oh no. He's actually cupping her breast. That's while she's sleeping. That's beyond the line. He
was not even touching it. There was space.
There were several feet. Picture and she admitted on The View that he wasn't touching her then, and that he was several feet in front of her, and he made it to look at the picture. Yes, she went on and admitted that.
All right, I gotta look into it again because the information that I got is that she stated that she didn't even know until after the fact, and she was sleeping.
Yes,
so now if she's contradicting herself, that goes, goes. Now I'm going to swing the other way. And to be honest with you, I'm not paying that much attention to each individual case. But if that is the case, then okay, then that one might. I don't know.
But you hit on a phrase, individual case. It's like not
Correct.
Every man that does shit like that is being a predator. They're just dumb. Or you don't know what the history of those two were like, if that always happened anyway, and she joked about it, and then just one day she decides to be pissed off, and now it's assault.
Well, that's like a bunch of these girls are saying they didn't even know.
A lot of women do that. They get pissed at men, and then all of a sudden everything's sexual.
Well, that's what. A lot of the girls are coming forward and they're saying that I was okay with it at the time, but then later I was told, I realized that I was being sexually assaulted. And it's like that's not how it works. Like,
that's not how it works.
Right.
Okay, let me just chime in here. It does happen like that sometimes. It does. Sometimes you don't know how shitty your situation is until maybe later on, when you're talking to somebody. Okay, so it's different. It definitely impacts you differently than realizing in the moment, hey, this is what's going on. But as a point of reference, I went through this once. It was my boyfriend, and I didn't realize. I just woke up and it was happening, and I was like, well, it's my boyfriend, it doesn't count, right? And then I was talking to my friend later, and she was like, holy shit, that's fucked up. And I was like, wait a second, that was fucked up. But it wasn't hindsight is a little bit different.
Okay, maybe for you, but for me, I would love it. I would dig it if my man did something like that. So where's that line? The
line is where the individual's moment of comfort, area of comfort is. And of course, this is also, assuming that people are in an equal playing field to give adequate and informed consent, which is why start mixing alcohol into the system, then it becomes intent. It becomes incredibly hazy, and that's
that's
a whole other subject. I'm not sure I have the adequate knowledge to be able to explain in detail for.
Well, so I just want to say, like, a lot of this is people finding out, oh, this person says that they were sexually harassed in this way. So whenever that happened to me, I must have been getting sexually harassed, even though at the time they might have been enjoying the attention, or, or they were okay with what the guy was doing. And then later they decide, oh, maybe I shouldn't have been okay with it. Even though I gave my consent at the time, I'm withdrawing it after the fact, which, you can withdraw it in the moment and that person should stop. And if they don't stop, that's great.
Exactly. Thank you.
But
I
if
didn't get to finish that.
Afterwards, if it happens like, months or years afterwards, and then you decide after that person thought they had your consent, that's a completely different story, because that person honestly believed in their mind that they had your consent, and just, I mean, a lot of this stuff, like with the Garrison Keillor thing, the girl that, came out and said that story against him, that, supposedly he put his hand up her shirt whenever he was patting her on the back. He apologized in that moment, and then she accepted his apology, and then her lawyers found out about it, and they said, hey, we got to sue him. Because then you can get money out of this, because that's what's going on. That's what's blowing up right now, is the sexual harassment thing and the sexual assault thing. And so now there's tons of law firms out there that are specifically specializing in sexual harassment and sexual assault claims, because this is the period in which they find, we can capitalize on this the most. And so anyone they can convince, they were sexually assaulting you, you should go after them. And then, they'll make the case that they can get money that way. And so they want to take Garrison Keillor's, all the money he's got from being on, lefty radio. And same with Al Franken. They want to get him out of the Senate or take whatever money he's got. And same with whoever else is out there, And a lot of these charges are coming up very conveniently, and, but
all of a sudden too, it's like,
but that doesn't mean that all of them are, that doesn't mean that all of them are. Like the John Conyers thing, I haven't done enough research into every single accusation, but some of those accusations are pretty vile. And, while I do think that it's very convenient that it came out with Medicare for all thing, I think that he should still resign anyway, because I think those accusations, like, even if he proves to be exonerated later in court, like, I think he's stained. And I think that having his name on the Medicare for all bill gives a bad name to that bill. And then as far as like, we can't have somebody like that who's a Democrat. Like, if you wanted to, keep Roy Moore from getting it, you can't let someone like Conyers stay, because then you have all the Republicans trying to say, well, why can't we elect a pedophile if you can have in a rapist or something like that, and it's not
battle
solid logic. Like, it's completely flawed logic, but they're going to use it anyway, because they don't think, solidly. They don't use actual logic. They're using the emotional argument of, like, if you can do it, why can't I? And, we need to get the point across to everybody that that men don't just suck, and women don't just suck. Both men and women suck, and they both will do shit to hurt the other. And there's a ton of women out there willing to make up shit to get money, or to take down the man. And that's happened to a ton of people where I live. Like, my mom has told me countless stories of people she went to high school with that falsely accused, teachers or men of raping them.
It happened in my school too.
Or so that they could get the teacher fired, or so that they could get money. And then that person went to jail, or lost the kids, or lost a bunch of money. And then later the women admitted they made it all up.
Yes, that happened in my high school. And my own mother was one of them. She was like the queen of manipulation. She could have some people believing all kinds of crap. And so I learned really early in life that women are able to do that. And that's why, if you're going to accuse a man of doing anything wrong, take him to court and have your facts, or else I'm not going to believe you. Because and this man-hating shit that's happening lately, it's like,
I don't think it's man hating.
Oh no, I'm reading these women, just, and it's like, you girls are not knowing what you're doing, it's like, I was telling somebody today, what I'm afraid of is, here we've had the Black Lives Matter, and white and black people are separated even more because there's been so much fighting, and then there's build the wall, and then there's
Why do you think that
let in everybody, and that's their separation there. And then now there's going to be a man-hating thing. It's like, we're all going to be separate. The book, 1984. This is I'm reading the book live, and it's scary.
We're so beyond 1984 at this point. It's insane. Like George Orwell would go into a conviction fit if he was alive today. Like he could never, ever have imagined how far into that totalitarian state we would go. I mean, it is just
scared. I am scared shitless. I mean, people are dividing, and it's like, this is not the time to divide.
But human beings should not, I don't think should be collectivized to that large of an extent. I mean,
I know.
Status of a national state in and of itself is an unnatural partigram that we created in order to gain territorial control of the masses. It's not a there. It's something we created as an arbitration to maintain social hierarchy. It wasn't created for the benefit of people. It was created for the benefit of an elite minority. And the idea, and in order to sustain that hierarchy, you need to create a certain mythos and mythology behind it in order to justify it. And this is why I find part of your comments a bit disconcerting for me, because I think that they play into a lot of those mythoses that the ruling class like to disseminate to the public in order to pit the disenfranchised against one another. Because
they do.
The purpose of class warfare is the best way to engage in class warfare is not to engage directly with your opposing class, but to create subclasses in order to further divide those your opponents.
I think I just said the same thing though, because I agree with you.
Yeah, she was basically just talking about how they're dividing us into all these different labels and labels within labels and labels within labels of labels, and just making it so that everyone has a bone to pick with somebody else and no one can get along on anything. And
I agree with you. How do you pronounce your first name? I'm sorry.
Me?
Yes.
Pronounce Aeolus, but
okay.
It's more of a pseudonym. I use for my online.
Well, I want to do it right.
But yeah, I've noticed a lot of the women coming forth whenever they share their stories, like especially on Twitter. A lot of it is like the way to tell the difference between sexual harassment and flirting is whether or not the guy's attractive. Like that's what I've noticed on Twitter is like if the guy's attractive and he makes the same advance that an ugly guy would make on me.
I've seen women say that.
And if a guy who stereotypically looks like he's creepy or ugly makes that same smile while he's looking at me, or makes the same, like way of like trying to touch my arm or something like that, well then you recoil and it's creepy and that's sexual harassment. And there's like
I don't know, man. That just paints women to sound like really uppity bitches, like very shallow. Like, I mean, if you're hot, you can go ahead and hit on me, but I mean, if you're not, just ew, what a creeper, sexual harassment. I mean, that's just not how it goes.
Well, it's not saying that all women are that.
We're not saying all women.
I know y'all aren't saying all women, but it's like, I don't know, man. I don't like the way this conversation is going in like a weird direction.
No, but the thing is, it's the exact same way with men.
It's the same way with men. Not all men are predators when they do that.
And I don't want to give women any slack, because let me tell you, I've had my fair share of fucked up women try to, doing stuff, so like, I'm very well aware. I mean, look at the whole Jordan Sheridan and Chelsea Lyons thing. I mean, Chelsea Lyons, nobody's calling her shit. Jordan's the ones catching all the hell for it. When Chelsea, if all this is true, Chelsea would be just as guilty as Jordan, but she's getting some kind of pass because she's a woman. She can't molest another woman. Like, that's some fucked up stuff right there.
I have watched that video several times, and all through the video, you can hear Carly be jealous of him and the attention that he would give other women. And that's the reason why she's going after his balls, because she's mad because.
See, I don't get deception from her, but I think that she wants to believe it. You know what I'm saying? Like, she wants to believe that he's like this big predator. Now, what he did was sleazy. I mean, it was definitely sleazy. I mean, taking advantage of a coworker. I mean, just some of the stuff that he would say, to other people, like, I'll make you a star. I mean, I can totally see him saying that. I can give him the benefit of the doubt, but he is a sleazy guy, and then you dump some alcohol on it, he's going to be even sleazier. But then again, she has a lot of reason to say these things, because of her husband, because she's, hurt, because of, she wants her name out there. I don't know. I mean, so there's a lot of motivations for her. Yeah, but I can't. But it's
for the unreal reason.
Case. So now we're left with, who are we going to believe? And it's just like, well, both sides don't really look all that good. Like, sometimes it just kind of comes down that maybe both sides are a little messed up.
Well, and I think that one of the things Jimmy Dore says, that's what Jimmy Dore says. If she's really telling the truth, then she would tell the police and take it to court.
Yes, she's got all the information. We live in too modernized of a world to this little innocent thing, uneducated, ignorant, whatever you want to call. It's like she knows what she can do.
Do we really know? Because
because she's been told this.
Yeah, and she's also a journalist working for a news agency, and who went to college, and of course, someone like her who's been on the Tim Black show talking about this, and who has a Twitter, and who's aware of
people are telling her to do that. If you're really honest, go and do it.
People with an internet connection and who are over the age of 21 generally are going to know. Like in the modern day, people know that you can go to court with things like that, because you had sex education, even if it was shitty and, barely existent, we had some sex education in school, and like rape training, a Compass would come to schools, especially like in Ohio. We have programs in Ohio where they come to school and teach, kids about, like, if you've had sexual problems, you can call this hotline and tell them what's gone on. And they'll, and if you want, they'll alert the police. And if not, they won't. They'll just, be therapists for you or counselors. But, there's so many options in the different states that you could take and different routes that you could take with it. And you can there are so many other people you could go to before you go to the Black show.
Maybe so.
In high schools these days, I mean, they have a special, when they're doing sex ed, they also include rape and HIV and all that. They are well educated in high school. I know high schoolers. I've even talked to high schoolers about Carly's case. And these days, it's really hard to, especially when she's being told right now, go to the cops and take them to court. And she's not doing it. That's not an uneducated woman. That is a woman that's refusing to do it for some reason, either lie or something. And plus she lied. She, when, during Tim Black's thing, Tim Black asked her about her drinking and, that drink and everything, and being 21, first time drinking. And she agreed, yeah. And then about 7 minutes later, she said, look, I've been drunk before. And I went, boom. So one moment you're agreeing with Tim Black that this was your first time drinking and you didn't know how much you could drink. And then several minutes later, she had said that she has been drunk. So there's inconsistencies. When there's inconsistencies, I'm sorry. And I'm coming from me. I've been raped several times, many times, because my stepfather tricked me out to truckers. So it's like, if anyone is going to have a heart for somebody that's in a rape situation, I would.
Yeah, but let's remember this: the rate of prosecution for rape is ludicrously low. Not to mention the fact that when we do actually go and attempt to prosecute rape, the degree to punishment for people who actually who get accused of rape can be frighteningly light.
Well, it depends on what skin color you are, and and how rich you are too. Like if you're Brock Turner, then of course you're going to get 3 months. But if you're a black guy from the ghetto, then you're going to get 25 years. It just depends on where you're from.
Yeah, but there's this other aspect of this, and this is the really sickening and ironic part about American society is that you could get less time for being a sexual predator than you do for shooting one. If that isn't you wonder why in that kind of a society why more women rely on social media. To me, it doesn't come as a surprise to me.
Yeah, but that's still not. That doesn't mean that social media is more accurate than the courts, though. Like you can't give the responsibility of choosing who's telling the truth to emotional social media where people don't do the research, people don't present detail counter arguments. They just say, here's my emotional story, and you're going to read this first, and you're going to believe this because you read it first. Like they've done studies that show whatever you hear first, that imprints a bias in your mind. So even if you hear the wrong argument first, or even if you hear a conspiracy theory first, even if you hear complete logical, like a complete logical takedown of that argument afterwards, because you heard that thing first, you are much more likely to just dig down deeper into that bias from that first thing you read and not want to change your beliefs. Like that, they've proven this a ton, like time and time again, is that if you expose somebody to the wrong information first and then try to educate them afterwards, they don't want to hear it. You have
that's what the psychologists say, and what do you call those people? Behavior analysts. That's what they all say. That's why the media is so influential.
Yeah, and that's why Matt Lauer was such an awful human being, is because he tried to take advantage of drama and emotions and like the pettiness of people and like all that kind of stuff. And he tried, whenever he was like, the types of questions that he would ask at interviews wasn't to get the most information out of people. It was to make that moment, and to make people cry and all this kind of stuff. It was like the awful, Hollywood, e-news type, whore journalism, like that kind of journalism. It wasn't real journalism. It was,
just like Barbara Walters. I mean, that was like her signature thing, was ask the question to get the single tear, like just, get that emotional response. Like, it's not about getting to some truth or some journalism, man. Like, it's all about just get that emotional, real response, supposedly,
Yeah, and that's the scummy reporters like Matt Lauer. They specialize in that kind of stuff, and that's one of the problems with our modern day media. And like that's why I'm so happy when that we have Jimmy Dore and people who don't do that, and they're just like, here's how they're screwing you, and here's why you should be fucking angry, and like that's it, like there's no. I'm not going to ask this guy a question about his personal life to make all of us cry. And like, we have to understand their struggle and, that and all this. And it's like, no, it's like this person, fought for this, blah, blah, blah. And he just tells you, this is how it is. And then, here's what I think about it. Do you agree? Panel, like Steph, Ron, do you guys agree with me? Graham, Dave, do you guys agree with me? Like anyone, whoever's here, Arno, like, Bryant. Like he just throws it out and he's like, here's what I think. Do you guys agree or do you find it different? Do you see it the same way? And occasionally, if they see it differently, they'll debate with him and change his mind. And that's the way a real journalistic panel would work, is they would have people who are like, here's what I think, what do you guys think? Like that was one of the main appeals to TYT back whenever I first found that, back during the primaries in 2015. Was that, like, compared to MSNBC, like, they're like, all right, we just watched this clip, and now I'm going to basically say what happened in that clip over again. And then I'm going to ask my panel a bunch of dumb questions that are completely irrelevant to that clip, but I'm going to act like they're relevant. And whereas, like, on TYT, they'd be like, here's the news, we're going to objectively report it to you, and then we're going to tell you our own personal biases and slants on this afterwards. That way how we feel about this, and it's not, like, hidden. Whereas, like, on MSNBC, they don't tell you their bias outright. Like, their bias is imprinted in the way they report their stories and the way they choose which stories to report. And TYT has a bit of that bias now too, in the way they choose their stories to report. But whenever they were smaller and back during the primaries, the way they reported things was so different, drastically different from most of the mainstream media companies. And it's the same way with the Jimmy Dore show now, or Graham Elwood show, like any of these small news shows now. Like, it's so super different.
All right, can you guys hear me okay? I'm back.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I threw up something on YouTube. It's called Angela Lansbury, Attractive Women Must Sometimes Take the Blame for Sexual Harassment. It's like, what the fuck? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
That was
she
fucking nuts. I don't care what context she was using it in. That's just way out of control.
Well, the
That's
context
my
she was using doesn't help. It basically is the same. It's basically just reinforces like how horrible it was. Because she's basically saying that if you dress and try to make yourself look nice, then you want to be raped, like that kind of thing. Like, it's like awful. Like, I mean,
Oh my God,
yeah.
I know.
And that's what I was like so pissed off a couple of weeks ago, whenever the Harvey Weinstein thing first happened. There was a guy who wrote a piece for the New York Times, basically saying that raping women was an innate part of men's, like, primal nature, and like that they just all had this, like, need, and then they all have to, like, hold back this urge to just jump on a woman and, like, lash out sexually. And it's like, speak for yourself, dude. It's like, most men have control and they don't feel the need to just, like, go run down and, like, hold down a woman and, like, stick it in. Like, whereas, like, whenever you read his article, like, he just makes it sound like he is, like, shaking, like, at the thought, of, like, a woman being in the same room as him. Like, he just, like, oh, I can't contain myself. And, like, he tries to present it as if, like, all men are, awful, sexual brutes who just can't think about anything, who can't think about anything but sex when they're around a woman. And it was gross, because it's like, speak for yourself, man. It's like some people know how to control themselves, and
What I find hilarious is when a drunk woman in a bar goes full on aggressive, like it's like a male, and then the male rejects her. It's like one time I heard this drunk woman go, God damn it, if I could have only had a penis, then I could have done what I wanted to do. When I was going, wow.
So Brutus, and you guys remember Popeye, right?
Yeah.
Okay, who's ever watched a Popeye? I know most of us have. But But Bluto, he used to, God, I've looked back at some of those cartoons, and he used to, like, literally toss what's her name around, like, really bad. And I'm just like, fuck, that's just the kind of message that you're sending children. That's just in my head. I mean, if you watch it now, you'd look at it and go, what the fuck? And then there's this guy with these big forearms trying to save her all the time, which is great. But this guy was just fucking, he's that guy. And it was just common. It's almost like it was condoned in some way. It's just wrong, there's several cartoons back in the old days, and even to this day, that women are depicted as something like toys and a piece of meat and all this other stuff, and it still happens, and it's even in video games. You guys know this. I mean,
but it also happens with men
what
too.
happened? What happened in not is it Primus? What was the one where the chick at the end? I brought this up a while back. It was it'll come to me where she Metroid, and
Samus.
yeah, exactly. And then at the end, the big prize of the game, and this is a game for kids, right? And I remember playing this game, and my nephew used to hang out, watch me play, because I was like the hero game player for him or something really just cool. But at the end, it was like, okay, so what's going to happen? And she would, like, in order the big prizes, she would take off all her armor and her clothes, and she'd be in a fucking bikini. That was the prize of the game. Part of the game. You know, I mean, who's setting the rules? Who's setting the tone? I mean, there's a lot of things out there that just aren't fair, that depict women as not what they
Well, there's a ton of shit making men into meat. I mean, there's a lot of porn that is directed toward men.
Yeah, but
so
I mean,
it's all even anymore. You can't tell me it's still just toward the women.
Well, I mean, if you ever watched, I don't know if you guys were watched Dancing with the Stars at all this season, but Barbara from Shark Tank is basically like a female Donald Trump, and the guy that she was with on there was constantly getting sexually harassed and just having to keep it to himself, and you could see it on the screen. Like on the first night there, whenever they were getting judged, she had her hand on his dick while they were getting judged.
Yep.
And Tom Bernthal was like, could you not? And she just kept it there. And like the entire time, and he was like kept trying to move so that her hand wouldn't be there anymore, and like you could see on his face, it was like, oh my god, please get me out of here, you know. This old lady has my penis, and she was just
I felt so bad for him.
Moving, you know, having her.
So I got a quick question. So do y'all think that sexual assault and rape and stuff, do you think that it's 50-50? Do you think that it's like, you know, a balanced thing that like men do it just as much as women, or like
No.
I don't understand the direction of this conversation right now. I love you guys, but I feel like we are really playing to that male sympathy. It's like these are women are being attacked right now, and yeah, I understand that it happens to men, but it's like, okay, like the whole Black Lives Matter things. Like, can we talk about how like such a huge proportion of people are being killed? But like, oh well, you can't say Black Lives Matter because all lives matter, because you know you can't fight for breast cancer because all cancer matters. I
know black people that are sick and tired of the Black Lives Matter. The Black Lives Matter, it's not exactly all true. It's not. Even these black people say that.
Well, I'm not talking about.
I'm with you on that. Like, I really do want to do like the whole like let's come together, because this is an issue that impacts us all. Because I feel like when we make it a black issue, white people don't care about it anymore, or you know, other people don't care about it. So it's just like, yeah, I mean, like I get that, and that's the whole thing. Like why feminism was like such a big thing was because you know when you put rules in place that restrict one person, a group of people, it backfires. It does. I mean, like when you see what the rich are doing to us, look at how it backfired on them. Look at their children. I mean, like these are psychopaths. This is what they've done to themselves when they've, you know, put these rules in place. So it's like when you put these rules in place that hurt women, where you know femininity is like something to be ashamed of. It's like on the other side of that, you know, you have men that hurt that are victims of this as well. You know, like I've seen this. I've seen people that haven't reported rape. I've seen people that, you know, have been falsely accused of rape. I've seen so many, I mean, just all across the spectrum. But like, I don't know. I feel like when we start talking about one thing, like we just want to make sure that everybody's included. But like the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, like I want to make sure that we stay on topic, because like, you know, the whole Colin Kaepernick thing like gets so sidetracked into, you know, the flag and the soldiers. And it's just like, But here's the issue that really at the core, like what we're talking about, is something that does hurt women, but and in this echo, like reverberation, because of physics, it's like men get hurt in this as well. Like I've seen the court systems where like the custody, as far as like usually it goes towards the mother. I mean, there's so many things that hurt men when we have these things that the patriarchy in place or whatever, what I mean? Like, so it's like, yeah, I mean, it definitely impacts us both, but I want to make sure that we do justice to the victims here. I don't want to like shortchange them just because I want to make sure like.
No, I can do both. I can do both. I can have empathy and support them and have sympathy for the men too. I don't have to stop one to have the other. I can do both.
Well, that's all I'm saying is no double.
Your rocks in your head rattle.
That's all I'm saying is no double standards. We can't look at one side and completely ignore the other, but we can't take a side either. Like we have to say, like if someone's accused of that, right? Like if someone is accused of sexual assault or sexual harassment, generally, the viewpoint of everyone should be innocent until proven guilty, because that's the way the court system in the United States is supposed to function. You're supposed to be proven guilty in a court of law, not in the court of public opinion. But in the case of someone like Roy Moore, where you have multiple accusers over multiple year spans, and you have like hundreds of corroborating witnesses from, and sheriff's departments and people from the mall, like mall security guards and all these, and people coming forward, and it's basically you have a community of people all saying this together. That's completely different from having a he said, she said moment, and even having a few people corroborate your story is different from Roy Moore, because you can always get people can always get friends to corroborate a story, they can convince a friend to support you. Like I said, whenever my mom had that girl who said that the teacher raped her whenever she was in high school, she got her girlfriends to corroborate that story, even though
that
it wasn't true.
happens way too much.
And so, I'm just saying that you can't go so far. You can't go so far into the support of a cause that you ignore the other side entirely, because then you do more damage to your cause than good. Like the whole social justice warrior thing, they did a lot of damage to their cause because they took it too far and became the PC police. And so instead of keeping people from just being, just from refraining from being, racially offensive with slurs, they were like, you can't even think things, we're the thought police now too. And that's when people got upset. And that's when people started well, if they're going to do that, then this entire movement must just be, built on lunacy and crazy and outrage. And so I'm just going to ignore the whole thing. And that's when they hurt their movement. And that's when you just have to look at it. There's a limit to how far you can go before something will backfire on you.
You're right, because I used to be a pro Black Lives Matter. I used to go on the streets. I used to do that, but because of how they've turned and how they're always talking about white men and everything, it's like you turned away from your original thing, and that was just equality. And now I refuse to go on a march. They can kiss my ass for all the work that I've done for them to just attack all white men. It's like, I hate it when men are hurt like that. It's like, and getting back to this equal or just as many men raped, it's under a half. And the reason why men don't come out and say it is because it's not manly to feel violated because of the rape. And it's against the manhood. You take one on for the boys. They're always taught to be tough. And to show this vulnerable side would be more emasculating than to come out and plus our courts are still crappy. They don't believe men as much as they do a woman.
Well, and there's the fact that, men are taught from the time they're young by society that we should all be, that all men should be whores, and, and that we, just sleep around with with whoever, and would have no regard for STDs or pregnancy or any of that kind of stuff. If you watch movies and TV, I mean, it is just insane the kind of like sexual practices that you know kids are learning and like kids are practicing because of that.
Yes.
You know, like
It's a propaganda culture.
Yes.
Like, you know, like there's a joke that someone, you know, made that on, you know, that says like, if you knew how many times in life you came super duper close to having sex or dying, it would drive you insane, you know, like, because, and the thing is that there are more, I think people realize it a lot, like more often than not, like that, you know, that opportunity is there and they choose not to take that opportunity because in the back of their mind, they don't want to get that STD, you know, like being in college and high school, you know, I had opportunities like, and I chose not to take them because I didn't trust the person or because I didn't want to risk it. You know, like I value my health. I value the health of the person that I will someday want to be with forever, you know, and like, I don't want to be that guy who has to search for somebody else with the same STD that I do to live with, you know, and like, that's like the requirement because, you know, or else like, I can't imagine, you know, I don't know. Like I have trouble with the way that we teach sexuality to people in this country and
Me
like
too.
sexual partners and, you know, casual sex and all that. And it's like, they do not teach it to be safe enough in this country. You know, like they do not teach kids to be safe at all. You know, like they're like not enough kids are getting STD tested and we need to have like, you know, public free, you know, like not public is in like everyone knows, but public is in you can go get it for free, you know, paid for by the government testing, you know, like we should all be able to constantly be going and getting tested if we wanted to do that kind of stuff. And we should have, you know, free access to high quality birth control, you know?
All right, so Black Lives Matter, because Rebel brought it up. Good information. I was really pissed off when I'm watching them attack Democratic or more liberal podiums or stages, and when they went and they took over Bernie's rally, I was like, you guys are going after the wrong fucking people. You know, I was like, why are you attacking Bernie? He's all about fucking, you know, he understands that back in 2016, you know, 1,000, like over almost 1,200 people were killed, that the majority of them were black. He understands that. And by police, and these police, not one of them was incarcerated or charged with murder. And that was the biggest cause of Black Lives Matter. But what happened is they took it to a different level and they started going after just white totally. And what their first focus was, and I think what happened is I actually spoke with a few of the original members back at that time, and they said, you know, this offshoot of these people and those girls, I don't know who they are, but they went and did that to Bernie, and we didn't condone it. They were supposed to picket in front of the police stations, the city halls, you know, where they can go after the police chiefs and stuff like that, but not against, you know, I think maybe the major reason why they didn't go in front of a Trump rally is they probably felt they'd probably get shot within seconds.
Oh yeah, definitely. They'd get beaten. I mean,
they get
like
beaten, they get shot, it would be over. It would be over. But I mean, originally they were going in the right direction, doing the right things, but they just went in the wrong direction. They lost their point. And I understand it was sad.
Have you ever watched the comparison videos between the Trump rallies and the 1960s racist rallies?
No. Are they the same?
It's there was a video that someone on YouTube did, and it was a back and forth comparison between mobs and rallies in the 1960s of racists and the Trump rallies of today, and they had Trump quotes playing over top of the thing, you know, and it was just absolutely insane and depressing to watch. I mean, it was like, I don't know if you've ever seen the video of there's a video of this really tall, lanky black guy, you know, trying to walk away calmly from a crowd, and the crowd is just every 5 seconds, like they're walking up behind him and punching him in the head and kicking him and all this, and then he'd get up and he'd keep walking away. They'd wait because they're a bunch of scared little, you know, whiny assholes, and then you have to have, you know, 100 of them and one guy. And then, you know, one of them would get, just enough balls to go up and knock him in the head again, and then they get back, and then he would get up and he'd keep walking, and they kept doing this a bunch as he was trying to get away, and he'd keep trying to walk a little bit faster, and eventually the crowd just swarms him, and you see him like disappear, and it's insane because like the same thing has happened to people at Trump rallies. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so just to let you guys know, I put up some pictures on YouTube. Maybe you didn't see them because if you just have the Zoom up, you're just going to see us. But I actually did put up those pictures of they're in there somewhere. They're archived now, but they're pictures of Bluto, actually choking, harassing, hitting, olive oil, and then in regards to Metroid, the game, and I put those images up as well. That's what your prize. You finish and beat all the monsters, and you get the girl. If you do a good job beating all the monsters, you get to see her in a full bikini. If you kind of suck at it, she just stands there, or she's just wearing like a half suit. But a lot of God, it's
But
like I say,
always thought Samus was a woman's name anyway.
Anyway, so what I'm saying, okay,
Samus Aran.
Okay,
Metroid.
Right, of course. So what I'm saying is the way things are marketed in the United States compared to, I think, other countries is they put women as in the wrong image, in the wrong light, and I've noticed that. I've seen it. I've been around long enough to witness it, and Lucas is right. We had this conversation the other day. They do not talk about the right things when it comes to the birds and the bees, in whatever grade you're going to learn that stuff in. They need to discuss definitely harassment, which we took when I was in the Navy. And here's an interesting statistic. We were the first aircraft carrier, the Carl Vinson, the same one that supposedly captured Osama bin Laden and ejected his body for some weird reason out into the middle of the fucking ocean, which who knows why. But anyway, we were the first aircraft carrier to have 40 women on our ship, of about 4,500 some odd men, young men. I was 27, 28 at the time. I was married. I was able to hold my own. But the first 2 days, there were over 40 counts of sexual harassment. And there were about 5 or 6 counts of sexual harassment against a couple of men. So the arena, it's just almost like that was like created to fail. I mean, I'm looking back at that, and even at the time, I'm like, who the fuck would put 40 women on a ship with fucking 4,500 just, testosterone, hormoned out, just crazy fucking, 17 to average age 20, 30 men on a ship. It was just fucking insane. But they have women on now, and things have changed, and they it's almost like they had to have a couple of car crashes before they put the stop sign or the stoplight in the intersection. This is the way it fucking happens everywhere in the United States for some stupid reason. They gotta have a few people dying in the intersection before they're actually put a stop sign there. But they've changed it, and the sexual harassment courses that we used to go to, and things that you do now in a lot of corporations and businesses, they touch upon the workplace, sexual harassment, abuse, bullying, zero tolerance to this, zero tolerance that. I mean, there's a lot of things. But these are the kind of things that they should be teaching in school. What you learn in the workplace, what is professional, what should be used, they should be teaching those things in school. And I think I've heard that they are teaching harassment and a few other things. Have you guys, Lucas, Ilios, have you guys ever heard that? Or, I mean, I think I'm hearing that. Did you guys in college ever learn anything like that?
It depends on what state you're in for school. Like in some states it's more intense than others. Like in Ohio, it's pretty good compared to a lot of other states because we have Compass, and like they come in And a lot of it is very, very conservative Christian leaning in the area where I live, like where they'll like teach you that, like porn is evil. And if you view it, then you're, a deviant, hellbag and all that kind of thing. Even in public schools, like they teach that kind of stuff, depending on which public school you go to. But they do teach about rape and, sexual harassment and sexual assault. And I don't think they quite necessarily do their best job at teaching about it. At least at the school, in the middle school I went to, they didn't do a great job. In the high school I went to, they did a bit better job of it, except for one of the health teachers taught, as abstinence only, as like his, way of not getting pregnant and not getting STDs. And, in all the places where they've done that, it's been statistically shown to never, ever work. In all the places where they teach abstinence only, those are the places where they have the highest rates of teen pregnancy and STDs. So, that I would disagree with that. But
so they're not really doing anything mandatory like before. Let's just say I think USC they do this, but a lot of colleges they don't. But that should be like a required course, especially if it's a big college with a bunch of fraternities and sororities. Lots of stuff goes down. Just saying.
Well, at my college, it's not. There's no course like that. But in my high school, it was mandatory. You had to take at least one semester of health class, and a small part of that health class was sex education and consent. But it was a very, very small part of it. And like a lot of that wasn't real sex education. It was basically memorizing anatomical parts, that you don't actually need to know, and be able to write them on the diagram for this test, and then that's about it. Like a lot of it wasn't actually, how like sex works or how to do it with somebody safely, and like how to put it, like if in the sexually satisfied countries with like the lowest rates of teen pregnancy and the lowest rates of abortion and STDs, they teach kids how to put on condoms whenever they're in like 5th grade, and like in middle school, like they're.
Did you hear that from Eric? He's like, "Oh my god." But see,
I've had 9-year-olds tell me that they fucked my mom. I better see some 5th graders get some sex ed classes. All right,
exactly.
If they're already talking like that on Xbox Live, buddy, give them the sex ed. All right, they need to know what it is that they're talking about.
And so
on South Park. Oh, sorry, South Park.
South Park.
The episode proper condom use. They went down to 4th grade, then kindergarten.
Well, in some places, like in Switzerland and Sweden and Denmark and Finland and those places, sex education does start in kindergarten, but but like the way they teach the sex education changes as you get older. Like the varying and the way in which they teach it. Like consent is one of the things that they teach very early on. The concept of it, not just for sex, but for other aspects of life. And like how to tell if someone's giving you consent. They talk about like the forms of verbal and nonverbal consent that you can give. And there's a consensus within those countries, because everyone who's gone through the public school system has got that same, mandatory consent education. They all know what the proper signs of consent are and what the proper signs are not. Whereas in the United States, it's so varied from state to state that what you're taught is consent in one state could be rape in another state. Like it's insane. Like how, there's no sex education standards for the United States. And, and
that
even
pisses me off alone.
And then within states from school to school, it changes too, like because schools are able to, do better sex education program than the school in the next town over. It's like there's like the minimum of the country and the minimum of the state, and then, the minimum of the city and the schools. And, it goes up as you get smaller and smaller. And so, one school might teach you that anything goes and the other school might teach you that anything is rape, and it's like, there's no broad consensus on how to give consent and how to, find out what consent is and how to get consent or how to know that the other person is consenting. Like it's just, whenever I was in health class, there was barely any, there was get consent. And that was all they talked about. They didn't talk about how consent works, how to get it. They don't talk about, one of the best ways to learn about consent is to talk to people from the BDSM community, because like that is entirely based upon and built upon consent. You know, like it's, I mean, if you're not into that, it's a bit weird, but like
I'm sorry.
completely built upon consent. Like, I mean, like they have to. That is like, it's not. It doesn't even turn them on unless it's consensual. You know, and that's something that should be important to everybody. You know, like it should be, no matter whether you're into BDSM or not. You know, it should be ingrained in you from a young age that unless the other person is giving you their consent, you should not be into it, because that means that, you know, like you should be able to stop. You shouldn't, you know, go on with it.
Right.
And
like a waiver, like get a waiver, like a 50 Shades of Gray waiver,
Like a safety word.
like
Safety
a
word,
safety word.
yes.
well, yeah, there's that, the safe word, but there's, I mean, like if you go to like other countries, they'll teach you about the different forms of consent physically, that people like the cues that people will give, you know. And so in those countries, there's like universal cues that everyone in that country who experienced the public, you know, this public education systems, sex education, they all are aware of these physical cues that someone could give for consent. So, you know, if there's like a certain way that you touch somebody, you know, like there's different ways to give consent in different places in the world. And in the United States, it's like, you know, you almost don't know if they're giving consent unless you flat out ask them and ruin the moment. Do I have your consent?
I know.
You know?
I hate the idea that it can't just be so fun and spontaneous anymore. It's like we might. It ruined that part, you know, where it's like I gotta be afraid, you know, now that, or the guy's gotta be afraid, and then it's like, okay, are you giving me consent? Yes, I am. Are you sure you're giving me consent? Let me, you know, by the time you're done talking about consent, the mood's passed. You know, I mean,
Can you just
Yeah.
sign this waiver real quick? Can you sign this waiver real quick?
yeah, I
Like
mean,
on the Chappelle show.
I don't like that part of it, you
Yeah,
know,
the
'cause
Chappelle show, that was perfect.
And even not just for sex, but even for flirting now, there's like a whole consent thing that's
oh
going on
my
with
God,
sexual thing. And to me, it's crazy because if you watch online girls talking about the best ways to flirt with girls, it's like, oh, touch this part of their arm, look at them this way, touch this part of their back, you know, all this kind of thing. And then you talk about whenever girls are sharing their
that's
sexual harassment
flirting?
stories, it's
That's
always
considered
a
flirting
guy,
now?
you know,
That
it's
could be
always a guy.
considered sexual harassment.
You know, and that's the reason I say the differences between sexual harassment and flirting is whether or not the guy's attractive is because, not because girls say the guy was ugly, you know, when he's sexually harassing. It's because the stuff they report as sexual harassment is the stuff that they were previously saying is the best way to flirt with them, you know. And it's constantly going this way, like for in all different kinds of like there's tons of girl vloggers on YouTube. Like if you go on, even on like TYT's Think Tank, you know, the girls on there, they'll go on and they'll talk about the best way to let a girl know you're interested, or to flirt with a girl, or to make her like you. And then they'll go on and do a video a month later about sexual harassment, and like all the things that they said in that video, you know, a month ago are all the top sign, you know, like the signs that you're sexually harassing somebody. It's like, what? It's like, make up your mind. Is this, you know, is this motion, or is this physical contact between these two human beings, you know, can it be agreed upon as a societal thing that that's a consensual thing, like it is in the other countries with sex education? Or is that going to be universally agreed upon as some kind of nefarious, you know, I'm touching you without your consent thing? Because if you're like me and you like to observe interactions between other human beings and just be like, you know, people watcher on the wall kind of thing, like observe interactions between other humans, that way you can do it better. If you watch the way that people flirt, it's always like the guys who go super confidently up and touch the girls and like all the places, you know, like they go up and they'll just like touch their, you know, lower back and, you know, way down low, or they'll touch the certain part of their arm that they say that, you know, and they'll just go up and do it. And like they get the girl. And the guys who are too afraid to touch the girl because they don't know where they're allowed, they don't. And it's like people who like a lot, and it also depends on if they're attractive. Like if an ugly guy goes up and does it, the girl will recoil and she'll be like, ugh, because this guy's not really all that attractive, and it doesn't make my, you know,
I've worked in the bars all my life, and I've watched it happen like thousands upon thousands of times.
See, that's I think that there needs to be a lesson in rejection and in how to reject and how to take the rejection.
Amen.
Because I feel like men are taught that no means playing hard to get, or that, it almost like you have to like make up like, oh, I've got a boyfriend, I've got this, just so like they'll leave you alone. But like, but in their head it's like, well, they're just playing hard to get, we're just back and forth or whatever. And there's also that other, side of it, like Lucas was saying, is like you can't approach a woman like you're trying to show respect, but at the same time, the guy that doesn't show respect is, at least what we're taught is like that's the guy that gets the girl. So it's like, what are we left with? I mean, hell, I don't know the first thing about flirting. Usually, I would like some tips in this because I'm usually just like, finger guns. Like that's my kind of like flirting, So it's like, how do you even understand like when somebody is flirting with you? Sometimes it's like, are they just being nice? Are they, there's so many like subtleties to flirting that's just like, it's over a lot of people's head. But, a lot of times like for women or, even like I've seen this with like men that have hit on other men. It's like, just take the compliment. Like, just say like, even if you're not interested, just be like, you know what? As long as you're not doing it in like a rude or vulgar way, like if they're just like, hey, I'm into you, just basically like, well, thank you, that's flattering, but you're not like my type or whatever, like, and it should be enough for somebody to say that and for it to be heard, but like I said, there's so many, well, if a boy pulls your hair, that means he likes you. So if he does something, if he hurts you, that means he really likes you, I mean, there's so many of these.
Don't
like,
mix the younger part of and the older.
Yeah, it's like we don't. I don't know. There's so many. Like, there's rules for women when it comes to flirting, and then there's men, and it's just like we're not being taught the same things. Like what you're doing is a different signal than what I'm picking up.
I think I just need to go buy more vibrators and just be content with that. This is getting too confusing.
Well, I mean, I
don't know.
I think that take cues from like people who actually have like functioning relationships, and like how they got to that point, with like communication and like real communication, not just talking, but like communication. So like there's different kinds of communication besides just talking. And like if you are able to communicate, if you have a working like system of communication where like you are able to get across what you mean to somebody without having to say it, that's great. And like it's good if you can have that kind of thing with somebody. And like in our culture, we're not taught how to do that because, especially in the modern day, everyone spends time on their phones, not learning how to associate with other human beings in a real life manner. So then whenever they go and they want to have, a relationship with that person, they have no idea how to handle themselves. And that's one of the things. Phones and the internet are one of the main reasons I think that a lot of this is getting, is the way it is, and a lot of the problems the way they are today. And I think that a lot of it could be solved by just making everybody put down their cell phone for, for 8 hours a day. If everyone had to put down their cell phone for 8 hours a day and just interact with everybody, that's only half of the time you're awake. The average person is awake about 16 hours a day. So if you have to keep your phone down for 8 of those hours and interact with somebody, I mean, that's like, that's a great way that you could still have the internet in your life, but you'd also be able to have a functioning conversation with somebody. Like no one my age can have a functioning conversation with somebody that lasts more than like 2 sentences, because then they have to they have to pull out their phone and look at it. Like I've noticed trying to take girls my age, on dates is so incredibly hard because they cannot get off their phones. Like I make it a point that no matter who I'm with, no matter who I'm hanging out with, like whether it's just a friend, whether it's a girl I like, whether it's, a relative, no matter who I'm hanging out with or spending time with, if I ask that person to hang out with me, my phone's away the entire time I'm hanging out with them, unless I need to check the time.
I don't care who it is. My phone does not come out. I am with, if it's my sister-in-law or who, my phone does not come out.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that, like they've done studies that show that people who do that are much better at maintaining conversation. They're much more comfortable communicating with others. They're better speakers. Like we need to have like a mandatory communications class, in school that teaches kids how to maintain just normal daily everyday conversations, like that should be part of language arts. Like language arts should not just be grammar, but it should also be how to speak to other human beings in a daily manner. And like it should be, and like there should be an entire portion of the school day just dedicated to you having conversations with the other person about your life. Like there's so much to be said for having somebody that you can talk to about your day, and knowing how to talk to somebody about your day. Because most kids, they come home from school, well, what did you learn at school today? I don't know. If you ask a kid who came home from school that 60 years ago, they'd probably be able to tell you, like just based on what my grandparents have told me. It's like they actually, even if it wasn't the stuff that they were being taught in the school, if they went to school and like and their parents came home and asked, what'd you learn today? Well, I'll be like, oh, well, I learned, Tommy's mom beats him or something like that. They would know something about one of the other students there. Like they would know more than just, I don't know. Like they would have something they could tell their parents. Their parents, would have relationships with the other parents and the teachers and everything. It's like nobody has a relationship with anybody outside the internet in the modern day. And it's driving me, a young person who grew up on the internet, insane. Like I want to be able to have a real life communication with somebody for more than 5 freaking minutes without them checking their phone. And it drives me insane. I mean, like I personally, I want to like get rid of my cell phone and just go like a year without it. Like I'd take a year off of electronics and electricity and just read a book and communicate with people for a year. But I couldn't do that because everybody else is on their phones.
It's totally doable, Lucas. I haven't had a cell phone in years. It's doable. It's hard. I mean, you still have to have a landline or something, some means of communicating, because just in today's world, I mean, you have to. But as far as like when you're down the road and you're on your phone or and I find it really it's a stressful situation that I get stressed out in social situations anyway, but especially like when I'm in a large group and everybody's fiddling with their phones, they've all got something to do, and I'm like, what do I do? I'm trying. There's nobody to talk to. There's nobody. I mean, like I have nothing to fidget with. I'm just sitting here like a dumbass, like just okay, all right, just waiting for somebody to look away from their phones long enough to talk. But I don't want to bash tech too much, because if it wasn't for technology, I wouldn't have any friends. Like I am not a social person. Like I will. I'm usually I'm Silent Bob, in real life. So, this is how I do my social interaction, so if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't even be like nearly as good as like communicating with others. So, you gotta, it's all about the balance, you gotta have balance with it.
I don't think that's what he was doing. I think he was just saying when you're with somebody physically,
you shouldn't be on your phone. I agree with that 100%. I mean, just to check the time, or what if like a family member calls? That's understandable. Or someone checking on you, just some like family member just checking on you, see how you're doing. That's fine. When you're just diddling on Twitter or Facebook or any of that other shit, put the damn phone down.
Because all it says is your time is not worth shit. You're not worth shit.
Yeah, I mean, with
for what it's worth, about the kids coming home from school and talking. This just to get back to that for just a second. I remember being a kid in the 70s. We said the same thing. Nothing happened at school, so don't feel too bad about kids today not communicating. Because my kids come home from school, they say, nothing. I did that to my parents. I think that goes back further than you realize. Just a thought.
I guess what I meant to say by that is, like, if you imagine sitting in a classroom before the teacher came in 20 years ago versus today, or 40 years ago versus today, I remember I went to, it was like the third day or the third week of college classes, and I went to my writing 2 class, and everyone was there early that day. Like absolutely everyone was in that classroom. there's about 20 kids in that class. They were all on their phones. There was still 15 minutes before the professor was going to get there. I sat there through that for 10 minutes just to see if anybody would say anything to anybody. 10 minutes of absolute silence with everyone in the room because everyone was on the phone. And so
that's fucking sad.
And so at the 5 minutes until the professor came in, Mark, I broke the silence because I didn't have my phone out the entire time. Like I had it in my pocket and I was just observing everybody to see if anyone would look up. And so at that 5 minutes until class starts, Mark, I said, imagine it's 20 years ago and before cell phones existed, how much conversation would be going on in this room, how loud and noisy it would be, and we like how much more we know about each other, because like I asked, like how many of us in this classroom could say everyone in this classroom's name. I know I couldn't, and it's like, and how sad is
it does kind of suck, honestly, not to sound old, but it does kind of suck for you younger people. It was nice growing up. I mean, I remember back as far, and I think probably Jim does too. I remember the days when we had a black and white television with bunny ears on it. That's how far back I go. But the connection today is it's so bad for the social everything of our society today. We could do a whole thing on just that. Believe me. Once you get me started talking on how much I hate modern technology, I can go hours. I could probably devour the entire session. But don't beat yourself up for missing it. We had our problems too.
Like I feel like this is really a fairly recent problem. I mean, hell, I just turned 30, okay? And Lucas, you're making me feel like an old woman because like you're talking about kids and their cell phones, and like when I was in high school, I mean that was like 12 years ago, but still, like, cell phones were a thing back then. And, there was like a couple of like, the really cool kids that had like the flip phones, or a Nokia, so like, but we never had that problem of like, the closest we ever came to that was like kids and their Walkmans. Like they had, they'd have their CD players and they tune out and they wouldn't really socialize, but we never had like this tech barrier. I mean, we pass notes. We, a lot of the times the teachers have to get on to us for, oh, calm down. Y'all are getting too loud. Stop the talking. This thing of like, nobody's talking like that. It would be so bizarre to see that. And we're not like that far apart in age. So it's like, it's really unsettling to see like how much, we've segregated ourselves from each other. That this is where we're at right now. Like we're having to like make people talk to each other, make people look at each other. It's crazy.
How old are you, Howard?
I'm going to be 50 next year.
Yeah, I'm 55, and I had daughters, and it was when I got a computer and got online that it went to hell. Our communication did, and then I ended up taking the computers out. It's like I couldn't.
Yeah, it's definitely tough for kids in this environment. I got very lucky with two very brilliant, very self-motivated daughters. But sometimes when I watch the kids in school, like it drives me nuts. I don't understand how you can literally bury yourself in electronics 24 hours a day.
I know. I
can't do it. I can't see. I mean, sorry, I'm going to shut up because I'm just going to get really angry when I talk.
No.
Hold on. So here's the thing. Also, there is harassment, and not that that's the big topic, but I get it is the way these kids talk to each other with their texting and their Facebooks and their Instagrams. There's abuse. There's also sexual. I mean, it's brought not just people just talking to each other, one-on-one or one-on whatever, but there's also some serious harassment out there in the technology age that is just as brutal. It has caused girls and people to commit suicide. It's caused all kinds of nasty things. So we really need to start teaching this stuff in many different ways. Go ahead, Eric.
But here's my observation. This is what I keep saying. People would rather hide behind a screen than actually engage into a real conversation.
Yep.
That's actually really, really hits the nail on the coffin. I would rather have a conversation than hide behind a screen. Why do you think I'm on here?
I prefer this over texting any day.
Oh, and that's one of the things that like I can't I can't even like text my friends anymore because like it's so hard to understand what people mean over a text message. You know, like one of the things that like I even thought about starting to do handwritten letters to my friends to talk to them whenever they were away. Just solely because whenever I was doing research and talking about and like reading about inflections in text messages and inflections in writing, it's so much easier to get inflections in handwriting than it is to get in text messages, because in handwriting, if someone's angry, they're gripping their pencil tighter, and like you can kind of tell whenever they're writing that like that they like something. I don't know. There's just like a feeling like whenever you run your hand across a paper that someone wrote, you can like tell how they felt more than it's like almost a pseudo-scientific, metaphysical thing. That you get from like feeling how someone put their words on a paper versus a screen. But
that's
I didn't even do that. The written word doesn't convey emotion to me as much as people's eyes when I'm talking to them does.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you also have to wonder why are we in our screens so much? Why are we on the internet and on our phone?
I'm not.
I mean, not like we us, but like generally human beings. Like how much time do we spend a day looking at a screen? Whether it's gaming or internet or Facebook, whatever it is. It's like it's for a lot of people, and especially for young people that don't really have a whole lot of hope for the future. It's like, what else you got? I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, your mom and dad's at work. Your friends are all strung out on drugs. It's like, what? I mean, what other option do you have? I mean, we don't have the things like, especially around here, we don't have outlets for young kids. We don't have. We used to have an arcade. We used to have a pool, a drive-in movie theater. All that's gone now. It's all gone. And what do these kids have to do? I mean, go out and just walk around endlessly? Like that's what me and my friends did. But I mean, after a while,
pick up a stick. Pick up a stick. I used to love picking up a stick and walking. So this is the thing, and I technology has taken us. When I was a kid, we used to hitchhike, right? I don't know. Kramer probably knows this, but we used to hitchhike, jump in the back of a pickup truck, and go fishing like 2 or 3 miles away. No problem. We didn't care who it was. It was like 6 in the morning. Could have been picked up by who or whatever. Things have changed dramatically. Everything's built. There's suburbs everywhere. There's shopping malls everywhere. There's condos everywhere. We used to do cow tipping in Huntington Beach, Surf City, USA. You think Texas was the only place doing cow tipping? We were cow tipping because we had a dairy farm. I know it's bad, but anyway, you don't want to know the details. It was kind of funny. But the thing is, so we were kind of like young hicks, next to the beach. But the biggest thing is we had stuff to do. We could go places. We'd do anything. The way it was, and Kramer knows this. You guys just make sure when the street lights come on, come home. That was it.
Yep, me too.
Which I think still kind of exists.
I had imagination.
It's just changed so dramatic. Now it's all technology. Go home and you want to. I mean, my son right now he wants a $200 PlayStation 4. And then he also wants a skateboard, which is fine. Skateboard's cool, but the PlayStation 4 they can just do without, man. I guess. But I'd like to have one myself.
I think one of the problems with technology is that too much of it and too much time spent on it kills the creativity bug inside of us, and it doesn't help that school was already doing its best to hammer that out of us. But boredom can really foster a lot of imagination and creativity, and they found there's a lot of very good psychological benefits to limited amounts of boredom in your day. And just time to think for yourself and not have input. Like me, one of the problems that I have is that there's so much information out there that I'm constantly shoving into my brain, you know, watching the Jimmy Dore show and listening to the Kunstlercast and the Dollop podcast and all these history things I listen to, you know, and taking in all this information and reading and watching all these permaculture videos. You know, I barely ever take time to just sit and think for myself rather than just regurgitating ideas that other people have thought. And, you know, all of the smartest people out there are smart because a lot of them go for, they not only read a lot and, you know, and keep up, but they also take time to just think for themselves. And they take time, you know, they'll take a long walk with their dog and they'll use that time to just, you know, take in nature and think for themselves. And so one of the things that I have started making myself doing is I have to go outside every day for some amount of time and like walk around the house, walk around in, you know, the woods or something. And I have to do at least spend a little bit of time outside in nature, just bored thinking about something, you know, like thinking about anything. It could be anything. It could even be what's right there in front of me in nature. Just I have to just go out there for no reason every day. I mean, it is for a reason, but like, you know, for seemingly no reason every day and just be there. And, you know, it's really helped my sanity, I think, a lot. And I think that, you know, kids would benefit from being forced to be outside for, you know, a little bit every day. It's like people my age have an aversion to being in nature. And we really need to get over that because in the future, we're going to be forced to spend a lot more time out in it.
I take my camera out an hour a day and just go, you know, taking pictures of nature and anything that my brain. See, yeah, I have to. I mean, if I didn't, oh my God, I think I'd commit suicide.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like you just have to have that outlet, that balance, you know. I mean, especially like I feel like kids today are going to be a lot different than what we went through because, you know, there's so much anonymity behind the internet, and not that that's a bad thing. I mean, but you know, it's, you know, when you put that in a child's hands, you know, they can use that for so many things, like, you know, bullying each other, whatever. And I feel like these kids today are just, they are raised, like, I feel like this disconnect between me and my youngest, it's like the things that are popular now, and it's just like the things that are the way that they communicate with each other, it just seems so much harsher. Like, it just seems like there's no really room to be in the moment. I mean, that's kind of the thing about going outside and stuff. It's like, you know, how many of us are just okay to just be in that moment, in the quiet, just let that moment happen. I mean, I struggle with it constantly. Like, I'm constantly wanting to put on YouTube videos to try and learn what I can and try to, you know, oh, well, I need to do this and that and that. But I never, like, you know, it's so hard, especially, you know, when your time is so, you know, you have to schedule every little thing. It's like you have to schedule that time to be in that moment. So, you know, yeah, we're busier now than we've ever been in our lives. I mean, this is probably the busiest humans have ever been, the most productive. But we don't use any of that time to take care of ourselves at all, you know?
That's because you got to prioritize you. You're the most important one, girl.
And I would, you know, if I were to have kids today, I personally would keep them away from most of this technology for, you know, the first 10 years of their life, for the first probably 10 to 15 years of their life, you know, a lot of it, you know, and like whenever I do introduce them to it, I'd be like, alrighty, here's a black and white television. All right. And you're going to watch some black and white Doctor Who's on it. And then I'm going to introduce you to the Wizard of Oz. And your first experience will be, you know, of color television will be with the Wizard of Oz. And then, you know, I'd introduce them to, you know, the other, like the history of movies and all that, and the like, you know, the technology thing. But that way they'd have some sort of appreciation for the evolution of technology and where it's come and where the generations before them came from. Because right now, everyone my age has grown up only experiencing, like, you know, 480p, 720p, 1080p, and now 4K stuff, always in color. You know, like we barely ever have to see black and white stuff, like unless it's, you know, history stuff.
Do you know?
Like, or that was the only option. And people my age can't freaking comprehend that. People can't comprehend having to go to a library and wait 3 weeks for a book to be shipped from another library for it, to come to that library just so you can read it for a research project for school and then send it back. I mean, people my age could not possibly comprehend it. And I've tried to get them to think about that. Like, think about going and looking through the catalog at a library at books that are related to your topic and reading every single one to find the one you're looking for. I mean, it is like insane how easy we have it with the internet, and none of us have an appreciation for it. Like, if I had kids, they would grow up reading all the time, reading and spending time in nature. That way, whenever I introduced them to technology and showed them how to use it, they'd have an appreciation for it.
That's what they were saying, that when TV went to color, that they saw a drop in grades in school because the brain had to think and imagine what colors things were. And then when the color came in, then it's like it was spoon fed to them. And our brains no longer had to imagine and create this colorful scene. And I remember the change from black and white to color, and I just remember I was way more bored with color TV.
On a related note, having easy access to all this, like having access, not having to wait 3 weeks at a library. When I was growing up, Thanksgiving week was always my very, very favorite week of the year, because for us older folks, you might remember way back, that was the week when all the best movies were shown on television. Do you guys remember that? Like Thanksgiving week, they would be packed with great movies, and that was it. You had no VCR, you had no cable TV, you had no anything. If you missed it that week, you weren't going to see it again till the next year. And watching these specials get they're on over and over and over and over again for months on end, and they're all available on DVD and they're all available on Netflix. And it really takes away a lot of the specialness of a lot of those movies for me. I still watch them, but it's not the same communal feeling that I had when I was a kid, knowing that I was watching it the one time that everybody in America was watching the same thing at the same time. It's just me being a grouch about the modern world, but I think kids miss out on that, because they just, anytime you want to watch something, just pop it in and it's there, and it takes away from the specialness, I think, of a lot of things.
Well, and I think that you're right about the appeal of having everyone watching something at the same time and experiencing that as a communal event, even through the internet, because it's funny, like if you look at like the evolution of technology, a lot of it will like evolve and then evolve back. Like right now, Amazon is currently doing live bookstores, like real bookstores again. So it's like Amazon killed all the bookstores and then they're bringing back the bookstores. And it's like, this is happening with so many other things. Like there's so many examples, like podcasts replacing radio, with like the audio and all that kind of thing. Channels, like YouTube has channels now that are playing live all the time, that took over for cable. It's like people like the idea of experiencing something at the same time as everybody else, because it gives them that sense of relatability and community that they just aren't getting in their daily life like they should. Like, we do not have a good sense of community in the United States like they do in European countries. Like in European countries, the community is valued much more than it is in the United States. In the United States, we have this awful sense of rugged individualism that trumps everything else, and it just drives me insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, especially with technology, it really provides you a means to live within your own bubble. I mean, I have to force myself to like get out there and, hear opinions I don't like and do things I don't want to do, read the news I don't want to hear about, like, because if not, you get stuck in this bubble, right? I mean, like, if we don't get challenged. So, I just think that, like, if we can, but we have to do it in a certain way, like make sure that, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point.
I think we all
getting too tired, maybe a little too tired.
Hey guys, I I'm actually going to wrap it up for the evening. Have a great rest of your phone call. Just out of curiosity, when you guys make start the conversations off, how do you decide the topic of the night? Is that just organic, or is it like a pre-planned thing?
Let me answer that. Okay, so what happens is when I first started this, well, coming on the show, Eb and Kim created this about 5 or 6 months ago, and it was pretty much an open forum. And now it's just we have some nights we'll have certain topics that we'll discuss, but tonight is this open forum, so we pretty much talk about whatever's on our minds or what's going on. So it just depends, and sometimes we'll have guests.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was going to ask about how I missed the podcast from the other night with Holly and Stevie and who else was on there?
Yeah, that was Jamal Thomas, myself, Garden Gnome.
Where is that posted?
That's on my. It's on my YouTube.
I was hoping to find out about how it went because I felt really bad. My daughter went out to a sleepover, so my wife and I actually went out on a date. So we kind of missed it, and I just wanted to know how that went. And I didn't want to jump in and change the conversation topic, but
no, you can do that. We go all over the place on open forum, don't we, guys? That's fine.
Yeah.
We'll latch on to whatever. It's good. Go ahead.
It's just I didn't see that one posted. I was looking for it.
I'm going to throw it in the link for you.
I was suggesting a candidate to look at it.
Okay. I'll put it in the live chat so you guys can see it, and I'll put it in the regular link. But Kramer, you're welcome
Stevie,
to come
I'm really
on
sorry I
anytime.
missed.
No, it's
really
totally cool, man. We're just glad we get more people coming on. I had some people from my Facebook that I'm finally starting to throw this particular show out to them because I feel a little more confident in what I'm doing. It's not easy, but I kind of like it. It's better than me being at the bar. That's all I got to say, because the bar gets expensive.
Well, good night, guys.
Good night.
Night, Howard. Take care.
Maybe I should just go to the bar after this anyway. I don't know.
Forget how early it is out there.
Yeah,
but even though it's delayed out there, you still are up quite late for somebody that works at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, well, I get up at 6 and take care of business. But let me see, late night show, Jamal. I'm looking at the my list here. I'm going to bring it up. Was it the 20? What date was that? Do you remember the date?
No, I couldn't remember the date, and I couldn't remember. And also wanted to send the one where you spoke with the Green Party, the 2 Green Party people.
I got it right here.
Now. Those links. Which nights were the 2 Green Party people on?
Somebody's got an echo. Anyway, I'm going to throw it up in the live chat right now for you.
That's not a good place for cats.
Yeah, it's work in progress. That's all I have to say.
Everything's a work in progress.
Yeah, everything we talk about. I'm just glad you guys.
Well, someday, James, this is going to be the place to go. Whatever candidates want to run, though, because they're going to come and they're going to want to speak to your 250,000 followers.
Oh yes, let us think positively. Thank you very much, Lucas, for that. I appreciate it.
Right now, candidates are happy to see 10 people who are willing to volunteer and work for them.
Well, then we're good to go. Then we are the place to be for sure.
Yeah, because they want right now. I mean, the Democratic Party in Iowa lost 3/4 of their people that knock doors and volunteer.
Keep in mind, I've only been doing this hosting like this for about 3 weeks, so I'm still working on it. Okay, so I'm going to put it in the live chat now. I put it in the Zoom chat. Now I'm going to put it in the live chat. It was the show with Jamal, Holly, Stevie, myself, and Garden Gnome. That was good. I really enjoyed that. And then we had Derek on, who was part of the Derek Crow, who was part of the running for the 21st District of Texas. That was a good interview.
I found the Derek Crow one.
Yeah.
Who was the other person?
That was done by Indy, who did a good job. Besides his OBS going a little.
No, not SEMA.
Oh,
no. You had a Green Party person.
Yeah, I had Darlene Elias, who was on before. I had a guy who was. She was one of the. There's 7 pillars, which they call, to the Green Party, and she's one of the pillars. She's a co-chairman of the Green Party. That was Darlene Elias.
I thought if we were trying to get a Green Party candidate on, that's the one I should mention that we've had on.
Yeah, she was, and there's also another one running for Secretary of State of California. He was on as well. Eric Rydberg.
Eric.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's all listed in there.
I just missed them. That's all.
I need to put the titles on there better because, work in progress. Because it says Monotalk and then the date, and then what I should have instead of like my monoterm, I should just put the people on there.
That's not a good idea. Oh, sorry, not you, Jim.
No, I'm saying.
I was talking to my cat. That's not a good idea.
No, your cat's cool. I like your cat, man. That's a cool cat, bro.
Hey, did you guys hear about the mass firing at Crack today?
Yeah, Evan was talking about it. Can you briefly kind of tell me what was going on, and then I got to shut up. I got to shut.
All right, so EW Scripps bought Cracked last year. They're basically a media conglomerate. They're more right-wing, Wall Street type guys. And so after they bought Cracked, they immediately started downsizing it, limiting the amount of content and money that could go to it and all that. And so less content was putting out. There was less creative opportunities. And then over time, this caused one of their main actor writers to become depressed, and he decided he was probably going to leave. And then he saw big changes coming, so he left in October. And then just today, they had a mass firing of a bunch of their best actors and writers and people, and some of them have been out there over 10 years, and they have huge followings, and a couple of those people are the main reasons their channel is huge, and they just fired them all out of the blue because the company is we need new people, and we're going to get rid of all the old people who've been doing so well for us for the last 10 years and who are the face of the channel. And so a bunch of them were fired just a few weeks before Christmas today, out of the blue, without expecting it. And it was very depressing and disheartening and stressful to learn about earlier today, because I really care about a lot of those writers and people, because I've read a lot of their stuff and watched a lot of their videos and seen a lot of their tweets, and some of them have tweeted back at me and had Twitter conversations with me, and they're all super duper nice people. A lot of them they're super funny people. A lot of the stuff they write is great, and then lately a lot of their stuff, Some News with Cody Johnston. Cody watches Jimmy Dore. I can tell by the way he talks and some of the sources he cites in a lot of his videos. And he also watches Kyle Kolinski, and you can tell because of that, same reason. Mm-hmm. And so he goes on and he reaches, this audience of 1 million people, that, 1 million Crack subscribers, plus, all people who aren't subscribed who, the video gets shared to. And he does, he did a weekly news segment called Some News that was a no nonsense, but at the same time super nonsensical and funny, tell it like it is, but in a funny way, news show that was it was great. And it lasted for a few months, and then he did this really great 20-minute episode on how to properly cover stories about Antifa, and he did one about why we can't talk about guns in this country, and it was really good. And, a lot of his videos always ended with Bernie, would have won and that kind of thing. And he just really didn't give a fuck about, what anyone following Cracked thought. It was his own personal news show on Cracked. And it just, but it happened to be really funny and really informative at the same time. And it became a super popular show. And, whenever I told Snork about it, he thinks that's the reason that they probably, fired a lot of people, is because they've been writing a lot of this stuff that's super critical of the political establishment, the Democrats and the Republicans. Like whenever Cody goes out there and says, I mean, that's one of the great things about some news is that it's not a partisan thing. Like Cody is a lot like Jon Stewart in the way that he talks and acts about this stuff, but he's a lot better than Jon Stewart in the sense that all of his writers are getting paid the same amount that he is. And he's much more on our level. Like Jon Stewart was a millionaire getting paid millions of dollars who had unpaid interns writing all his shit. Whereas Cody Johnston was a small-time news guy with a much smaller audience, and all his writers are getting paid the same amount, if not more, for the other stuff they did than he is. And yeah, it was really great. And now all of those people are jobless a few weeks before Christmas, and they're all looking for work. And they all found out, they were all fired like overnight last night. So then today, all of a sudden they wake up and they don't have jobs anymore. And so like Daniel Bryan like tweeted out, "Oh, it looks like I don't work." He's like, "I guess I don't work at Correct anymore." And then Cody was like, "Oh shit, same." And like Carmen and Katie and all them were like, "Hey, looking for work." And yeah, I just feel like that was a really shitty thing to do to them a few weeks before Christmas, and not without any warning. It's like the only one of them who saw it coming quit, 2 months ago.
Is this guy kind of got a scruffy face, beard? Cody Johnston?
The one who quit? Oh, yeah, Cody, yeah.
Yeah, I think I got his Facebook up. That's fucked up. And I have no idea who... they have a website? What is... I'm sorry, I don't know anything about these guys. Sad.
Well, Cracked was a satire magazine, a lot like Mad Magazine. Like it was one of their main competitors. And then back in 2005-06, they were bought by a new investor.
There it is, right there. Fuck.
And they were bought by a new investor group back in 2005 and 6 that got rid of the magazine and made it solely an internet website. And so all their articles would now be internet articles. And then they also expanded over and had a YouTube channel and Cracked Video. And then they hired a bunch of people with that. And, some of those people that were really good at it stayed with it all these years. And, they developed really intense, like personal relationships with like the audience. And like they had their character kind of became themselves and their selves became their character. And that was one of the great things about them is that you got to know them because so much of their own personality showed through their characters. And like they basically were playing themselves as characters, which was amazing. Like it was great. Like they were just, kind of partially caricaturized versions of themselves. And so like they emphasized all of their flaws and shortcomings at the same time emphasizing all their best qualities. And it just made for a really great channel that brought joy to a lot of people. And now all those people that brought joy to people for over a decade are jobless and out in the cold.
That is so fucked up.
Man.
So, I don't know if I caught it, but what was the catalyst that started this?
Them getting bought by EW Scripts.
Okay, that's what you said. Yeah.
The giant media conglomerate that's based in Cincinnati, Ohio.
And they get rid of their best that created, that cultivated all this and attracted so many people. Now these people are gone. So this conglomerate just thinks they're supposed to do as well without the people that really put it together and that people want to be there. It doesn't make any sense. It just seems like a bad move on business move.
Yeah, well, that's what everyone's been like super pissed off about it. Like Cracked was trending for a brief time on Twitter today because of that. They had like 95,000 tweets about it. People saying that they're not going to watch Cracked anymore after this because all their favorite actors and writers are gone. Like they kept a few main editors and they kept like 2 good actors that everyone likes, but all the other actors they have, like a dozen people at least, were fired today. A dozen very well liked writers and actors. Like John Cheese is one of their best actors. He's written a lot of great articles and he writes a lot of the video stuff, like the scripts, and does research for them. He was fired today too, and like that, he's one of the lesser known names, but he still has a huge following on Twitter because he's so funny and he's such a great writer. And like they just all their best people were fired today, terrible. And it drives me insane.
I'm looking at the website. I'm looking at the column. I've heard of that. It's yeah, fuck. I can't believe I didn't know what the fuck you guys were talking about. Before I started tonight, I kind of caught just bits and pieces as I went to check out, my YouTube, and then I noticed that Eben was on, and I noticed what topic you guys were kind of talking about. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is, so I just kept doing my thing. But shit, this is really bullshit. God, fuck.
Yeah, yeah. I was like heartbroken when I saw it. I was
Yeah.
like I just kind of like sat down and like felt sad about it for like 10 minutes, just like taking it in. Like these people that I've been watching for the last 4 to 5 years of my life weekly are now not. They don't have that outlet anymore. Like these people that I turn to make me smile, that were constantly putting out sources of quality material, and not every single video is great. Not every single video is
Of
quality.
course,
I didn't
no.
agree with every single thing, but there was so much joy that they brought to me and other people, and so many times that being able to make someone laugh is a really great quality. And
Of
like if
course.
you're able to make someone laugh, then that's a door into their world. That's a door into communicating with them. That's a door into being relatable, into changing their mind, changing their heart. And these were like their best people at making someone laugh. And now they're all gone. And that just, it drives me wild. I can't understand it.
How many
I
are
just,
there? How many are there that, do you know the amount of people? It was like 12,
I don't know.
15,
I don't know
20?
the exact amount, but I'm pretty sure it was around a dozen people because
Okay.
there was Dan O'Brien, Soren Bowie, Michael Swaim resigned,
all of them. Wow.
quit, a month ago, and then Katie Willard, Katie Stoll, that's 5, and then there was Tom Ryman, Josh Sargent, John Cheese. What else? There was a couple. Lower level writers. Oh, who else am I think? There's other people I'm not thinking
Yeah,
of.
it's okay. There's a lot, but I wouldn't put it past them at all to start their own gig. If they've got a following and they've got a brand and they've got, how smart would that be for them to just start their own new venture? I think that would be the best way to go. If that would be the greatest comeback, and then karma would be great if they took all the fucking air out of crack. It's just a name, but they could start some other name.
Well, I'm honestly I'm hoping they do because like they're a really great team that
Yeah,
has a lot
of
of really
course.
good chemistry, and they've been working together for a long time, so they all are friends. They all know each other.
Right.
Like I said, chemistry is just amazing between them, and like that's one of the people who worked there, the one who quit a couple months ago. He's got his own personal backstory that's a bit separate from this issue, and that's a part of the reason he resigned.
Mhm.
And this whole thing that was coming, like he could see it coming, and that just reinforced his him quitting. But he also quit because like he's been an alcoholic for years, and he was like a closeted alcoholic who thought he had it under control. And then whenever EW Scripts bought Cracked, he said that the creative opportunities and outlets they had there were slowly becoming more and more limited and more diminished as the money stopped.
Mhm.
And like as they became more conservative with like the amount of money they were willing to invest in Cracked. And so as the opportunities stopped, his depression grew, and then he fueled that with his alcoholism, and it got really bad. And so one of the reasons he was going to quit was because he wanted to get sober, and he knew that if he was still doing that there, that wouldn't help. And so he wanted to stop, get sober, and then start his own thing. And so he did. He quit, he got sober, and now he started a new media company called Small Beans on Patreon, and they're putting out content there. And they're going to have like several different podcasts. Like one's going to be a movie reviews, one's going to be video game reviews. There's going to be a comedy podcast, I think, or a comedy YouTube series. Like they have a bunch of different things they're planning on doing. But he explains that all in his videos and his reasons for leaving. But he says that there was a noticeable difference after they were bought in the attitudes above, and like the fiscal policies that went on at Cracked, and like where they're willing to put their money.
Wow, dude. Okay. Listen, I got to shut it down. I got stuff to do, and I got to go to sleep. But Lucas, thank you so much for coming on, bro. Bye, Dominic. Thank you guys all for
Bye.
coming on. Thanks for
Bye,
Mr.
everyone. Love
Kramer
you
for coming
all.
on.
Love you too.
We'll get
Thank
some
you.
topics and get more
Guys, have a good
organized in the
one.
future. Like I said, I've only been doing this for 3 weeks, so I'm still
You're
working on
good. You're good.
You're good to go.
We love you.
it. Yeah. Love you all too,
Okay.
you guys. You guys are fantastic.
Have a
Okay,
good
good
one.
night.
Okay, good night. I'm gonna do my mana and then I'm out. Snarky didn't hear much from you, but that's okay. Bye, Lucas.
Bye.
Thanks, buddy. Sorry. You gonna be around Thursday? I'll be on Thursday.
Yeah, probably.
Cool, man. I'm just Wednesday. I take like a day off. You know, because
Yeah.
honestly, it's Evan, just between you, me, and a buffalo fart, and everybody's probably still watching, but it's time. It takes. I could be playing World of Warcraft, or I could with my mom, or I could be playing Overwatch, or I could be at the bar, doing something or doing other things or whatever. But I really enjoy because I learned from you, believe it or not. I mean, you're a smart fucking kid. And then Alios and Garden Gnome and Snork, of course, just a plethora of fucking knowledge. And even and a lot of stuff from Eric and Cage. I mean, everybody shares information that's great for me because when I'm talking with whoever in regards to something political, fuck, I'm indestructible almost. And at the same time, ethically, I think we're pretty spot on, and I think our message is important, and that's another reason why I'm here. Like me, it's just I'm trying to just save the planet and all of its inhabitants, and I think you guys are key to that. And we're starting to get people on here, Lucas. We've had some great guests, and I would love at some point you grab somebody or I'll have somebody that you maybe would be good. See if one of the crack guys would come on. Oh, that would be fucking epic, dude. Do you think you could pull that off?
I don't know. You'd have to all of us tweeting at him probably.
Yeah, just whoever. I'll just come on. They can share their story. I think it'd be great.
Maybe if we all tweet at Cody Johnston, over the next few days, maybe he'll notice like enough people saying, come on to After Hours or come on to Monotalk.
Yeah, Monotalk,
and then
or whoever. I don't care where they come. I just like to hear their story. Honestly, I mean, everybody, we're all on the same page. I'd like to hear the story. I'd like to know if they're going to start something new. I'd also like to know more about it. And I think that would be a good topic to come on. I mean, it doesn't have to always be about politics.
Yeah.
I would like the swimsuit models to come on at some point for Sports Illustrated, but I don't know. I'm still working on that. Later, bro. Take care. Thanks for coming on, Lucas. No, seriously, try to get those guys on. Let them know.
Alrighty.
It'll be fun. Thank you. Take care. All right. So what's great about us is I think we're playing the game okay. I mean, I really believe, the group that's on here, and we're not on forever, but we're on and we're talking about a lot of really good issues, harassment and, Matt Lauer. And, we discussed just the whole thing is crazy. And, I was talking about team earlier, excuse me, the game. And that kind of plays into what we were talking about. There's like a game out there that you have to play, and if you don't follow the rules, they're going to throw the flag on you. And I'm telling you, if you don't know the rules, and I don't think they're teaching people correctly. I don't think they're teaching kids, and I don't think parents are informing their children properly. And I really and truly believe that it's hugely important that harassment in the workplace or wherever needs to be taught at a young age and instilled in your kids' heads, and what is important, to make sure that they see other people as a respectable entity that deserves their space and deserves their time and deserves their ability to express themselves, without it being misunderstood, and other avenues or other, ways in that sort of thing. But what's hugely important is there is a game out there, and if you don't play it right, where it's political, social, sports, just name the arena. Just name the arena. There's penalties. There's and some of those penalties can be very severe. So what I truly believe is, like I said, like I always say, knowledge alone is not power. Properly applied knowledge is true power. So if you have the knowledge, apply it and apply it properly. I always say that. Thank you very much for coming on. This is James with Monotalk. Please subscribe and also share as much as you can. It's just a place for people to come on and vent. I don't care what party you're from, if you want to talk about whatever you want to talk about. But as long as you're respectful and you're, courteous and polite, and if you do have some good debates, hey, we'll discuss them. If you got some good points and you're bringing the facts, we're all about the facts. We're all about the facts. We're all about the facts. About the facts. Yay, baby! Can't believe I just did that. Anyway, aloha, you guys. Take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. And we'll see you guys Thursday, or I might be on another show tomorrow. Take care. Bye.